Hello everybody and welcome to a guy who is not afraid of the dark no matter who tells you what. I am not afraid of the dark. Oh, okay, real funny guys, real funny. Okay guys, you can turn the lights on now. No, seriously, you can turn the lights on now. So since this is my first time talking about Are You Afraid of the Dark, I'm just gonna give you a little bit of background, just in case you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm sure most of you guys already know everything about it, probably a lot more than me. Just for the people that don't know, okay? You can skip forward if you don't care. Are You Afraid of the Dark is a children's anthology horror show. Don't say analog by accident, you'll piss off hundreds of people. Everyone knows Goosebumps is probably one of the best analog horror shows ever. That aired from 1992 to 1996. It also had small revival series in 1999, 2000, and 2019. And a few months ago, they actually released a podcast called the Are You Afraid of the Dark, the official podcast. It's a very long name, I agree. The show stars a group of kids called the Midnight Society that periodically change out, but you'll learn them as we talk about the episodes. They just sit around a fire and tell the stories that we see in the show. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the tale of the dark music, voted by you guys in a poll. I'm glad you guys voted for this one because it is equally scary and goofy and wacky, and I love it. Okay, now that we're caught up, let's get on to the show. We start the episode with the kids showing up at the meeting area, and this guy Frank is very upset right now. He's upset at this kid Eric, and you want to know why? Eric was supposed to walk with Frankie because Frankie lost his flashlight. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal until you learn that Frankie is...
He's afraid of the dark.
And all the other kids, they pick on Frankie because Frankie is the tough guy of the group. He's got this tough guy persona he has to keep up, and he can't keep that up if he's afraid of the dark. And with Eric calling him out like this, Eric is messing up his persona, and now Frank wants to,
You're gonna pay for this, man.
Yeah, he wants to beat up Eric a little bit. But he can't tonight because it's Eric's turn to tell a story. And coincidentally, the story stars a kid that's, also afraid of the dark. Throw the probably toxic chemicals into the fire and let's begin. We started off by meeting our main character, Andy, and he does not have the best of luck. His parents just got divorced, his mom is very poor, he's working by delivering newspapers around town to help his mom pay for things, and it looks like his family ran out of luck. That is until they inherited an old house from one of his mom's uncles that she doesn't even remember. It is a huge house and it looks like their luck is finally turning around, but that is until... This stick-looking Axl Rose wannabe kid is Coda, and he's Andy's new next-door neighbor, also his new bully. He isn't going to make Andy's life any easier. Later that night, Andy's mom asks him to go down to the basement to look for a ladder, but Andy...
The basement?
Doesn't like that idea. This is when we get to meet Andy's annoying little sister.
What's the matter, Andy? Afraid of the dark?
So overacted. What's the matter, Andy? Afraid of the dark? Reluctantly, Andy agrees to go down in the basement. And the basement is indeed very dark and spooky, and the music in the background does not help it at all. And while he's down there, he does find this old radio, which he decides to plug in to see if it works, and... it does. He then starts flipping through the channels on the radio, just trying to find anything that sounds good. And as he's doing this, the door behind him begins to jiggle. He finally lands on a station that's playing some rock music, and this is when the door flies open to reveal two red eyes sitting in darkness. The mysterious figure says, "Come on in." He then screams, runs upstairs, and drops the radio. How did the inside of the radio get on the outside like that? Cut back to the Midnight Society. Now Frank is missing, and he is afraid of the dark, so that's a little weird. I don't know, maybe he just had to go pee or something. Andy gets upstairs and makes his mom check the room in the basement. He starts telling his mom what he saw, albeit he exaggerates it a little bit.
It talked to me. It said, come in and I'll suck your blood or something like that.
Andy's mom grabs a hockey stick to protect herself. She opens the door to see... a cellar. I don't know, maybe he just imagined the whole thing. And the next day, we get to learn why Coda bullies Andy.
You want an allowance? You earn it.
And to make things worse for Coda, Andy accidentally does this. And Coda's not going to let him escape that easily. After a small chase around town, Andy makes it into their cellar, so Coda can't really hurt him down there. And later that night, we learned that Andy's uncle was a little weird. He never left the house, but he somehow made a lot of money. He was like stupid rich. And he died of old age, and they found him in the basement in that room. And Andy's mom lets us know all this by looking directly into the camera. That's a big no-no for TV and movies, just in case you didn't know, unless it's intentional. But she stared right into my fucking soul, I'll tell you that. She then tells Christina to go do the laundry, but since she's a little brat, she says,
Mom, I'm busy.
so Andy has to go do it.
Remember, there's nothing down there.
Remember, there's nothing down there. I hate her. She's so annoying. Andy brings another radio downstairs so he can listen to something while he does the laundry. And as the music plays, the door opens on its own once again, but this time a doll-like woman comes out. And she wants Andy to go with her.
Won't you come play with me?
She puts Andy in some kind of a trance where he just walks towards her without even knowing what's going on. And he almost takes her hand, but luckily Andy's mom unknowingly saves him by turning off the power to the basement. And after this happened, Andy doesn't remember a thing of what he just saw. It was almost like it never happened. The next day, Andy has to go back downstairs to do a bit more laundry. As he's listening to the music, it starts playing circus-like music. And Andy was not listening to that before, so he tries to change the channel, but it seems like the circus music is on every channel. Then the door busts open to show that there is a full carnival on the other side. There's this man telling Andy to come on in, come join them, come have fun. And he puts Andy in another hypnotic state. He starts walking to the door, and when he gets close enough, the man turns into a low-budget Benny from Halloween Town and grabs him and tries to suck him into the door. As Andy is getting sucked into the door, he decides he wants to grab the radio to try to hold on to something, and in doing this unplugs the radio, stopping it from happening. This is when Andy realizes the music is causing this to happen.
Music. It's music.
He then tries it a couple more times to test his theory, which he finds out is true. He then runs outside to go find his mom to tell her when Coda stops him. He then throws the weakest punch I've ever seen in my life.
I'm mad at you because my dad makes me clean the stairs for 8 hours a day. I'm sorry your father emotionally abuses you. Do not take your anger out on me. Maybe we can become friends and I can help you get through this emotional trauma. I'm gonna punch you now. What? Yeah.
And after Coda beats on him for a little bit, he grabs Andy's bike and throws it into oncoming traffic. Where'd the bike go? After Andy retrieves his bike from the back rooms, he thinks up a plan to get revenge on Coda. He's tired of Coda's shit. He wants to get revenge. And he has a great way to get back. Andy finds huge speakers and a radio inside the house and sets them up in the basement. He then locks the door to get back into the house from the basement, then turns the switch off that gives power to the basement. He then goes out, finds Coda, throws a newspaper at him, says a little bit of an insult.
When you're done, come over and clean my house. You make a good maid.
And then Andy makes him chase him to the basement. But psych, Andy's not in the basement. He traps Coda in the basement and then turns the switch on that turns the power on. And this starts very loud rock music. And this rock music unlocks the gates of hell or something. I don't know, that's what it looks like to me. And it takes Coda in as a sacrifice. And because Andy fed the door somebody, he gets a new bike. The door then tells Andy to keep feeding him for rewards and riches, just like his uncle. And right after the door tells him this, Andy's little sister comes home. And I know what it looks like, but apparently he doesn't sacrifice his sister to the door. He just knows that it's there and he scares her a little bit, apparently. But we don't get to see this happen, sadly. Cut back to the Midnight Society, closing out the ceremony for the night, when Eric realizes that Frank took his dad's flashlight and he's still gone. So now he has to wait for Frank to return in the dark.
I am not afraid of the dark. Not afraid of the dark. Frank!
Something tells me he's afraid of the dark. But after a little bit of waiting, Frank does get his payback.
Paybacks are sweet.
And that's the end of the episode, The Dark Music, The Tale of the Dark Music. There's such long titles in this show. I like this episode. It's a good introduction into Are You Afraid of the Dark? I'm going to be honest, I did not really watch it when I was young. I've seen a few episodes here and there, you know, just like little things on television, but I don't remember any of them. I'm sorry. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very fun, very cheesy. I liked it a lot. I can see why people prefer this over Goosebumps. I still prefer Goosebumps over it. I'm sorry. I just think Goosebumps is a little bit better. What can I say? Let me know what you think about Are You Afraid of the Dark, and leave me some more episode recommendations in my comments below. That's all I have for you today, folks. Thank you for watching the video. I appreciate you all, and peace. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the only universe where Spider-Man is a comic book and not a real person. Why? Last week, I asked you guys which episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark you guys would like to see me talk about, and you guys voted for The Tale of the Ghastly Grinner, which is not too surprising for me, honestly. The Tale of the Ghastly Grinner is the 9th episode of the 4th season and is known to be one of the best episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark. Like, I didn't even watch Are You Afraid of the Dark as a kid, and I know who this guy is. That's how popular he is. And the Grinner himself is known as one of the scariest villains of Are You Afraid of the Dark. He's even the scariest according to you guys, because I ran this poll and... oh. Never mind. To be fair, I think all the people that voted no probably didn't watch Are You Afraid of the Dark. But before we get into the episode, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Good To Go Gameplays. He let me use his Paramount Plus to watch the series in wonderful HD, so I don't have to watch shitty YouTube videos in 360p. All right, enough yapping. Let's get into the episode. We start the episode with the Midnight Society, of course, and they're having a hard time starting their fire. Apparently it rained the day before and the logs are too wet, so they need paper or something to start the fire. And it looks like our friend Tucker right here has some.
No way!
Tucker and Frank argue for a second, like always, until Betty Ann comes in and takes the comic away from them.
It's a graphic novel.
Betty Ann asks, do you ever wonder where they get the idea for comic books?
What if comic books were something more? Like a guidebook to another dimension.
Whoa.
Comic books take you to a world of fantasy and adventure. But is it a place that comes from somebody's imagination or somebody's experiences? Now, throw the probably toxic chemicals into the fire and let's begin. I know it's just like powder creamer that they're throwing into the fire. It's just more fun to say toxic chemicals because it makes it sound like the kids are in danger. We start this episode in a really cool room. There's all kinds of really cool art and comic panels all over the wall, and there's a pinball machine. A pinball machine? And we also get to meet our main character, Ethan Wood, who is played by Amos Crawley. And he was also in a Goosebumps episode. Just a small one. Nobody probably even remembers it. It's something like The Haunted Mask or something. He was in both of the episodes of The Haunted Mask. He was also Arnold in the Magic School Bus series. And Owl in Little Bear. This dude has been everywhere. Ethan wants to be a comic book artist, but it's not going too well.
Pass. Rejected. Rejected. Don't call us, won't call you.
Every place he applies to rejects him, and this causes him to hulk out a little bit and completely destroy his room. After he's done demolishing his room, he notices a letter on the floor that wasn't there before. He opens it to see that a new comic book store invited him to their grand opening. And this must be a really big store because they tell him to come early to beat the crowd. So it must be a huge crowd there. Or not. Also, what's up with this Chad Superman right here in the pan? He looks beautiful. Look at that hair. Ethan walks around the empty store until he runs into Frankie, and she instantly starts trying to sell him some shitty sounding comics.
Got a big sale on Dust Boy. Fishman. Reporter by day, radioactive trope by night.
I think the name Aquaman makes him sound a little bit cooler. Ethan asks about the letter that was sent to him, and then her mood changes pretty quickly. She's somehow heard about Ethan's drawing abilities.
I hear you're pretty good.
And she makes him pull out a sketchbook of all his drawings and stuff. But Ethan's a little humble, and he warns her that he's not too good. Nobody wants to work with him. But Frankie is pretty impressed. So impressed, she says,
Uncas.
Pardon? Apparently, Sylvester Uncas is one of the greatest comic artists to ever live. And Ethan just so happens to draw just like him. Frankie asks Ethan if he's heard about the comic called The Ghastly Grinner. She describes him as a villain that's so hideous that his laughs turn his victims into giggling idiots? Her words, not mine. And according to the fan wiki, his laugh is just so loud that it causes people to turn into these giggling idiots. And they'll also drool blue for some reason. Kind of like the Joker venom from Batman, where somebody breathed in the Joker gas, then their face would just mold into a smile and then they'll laugh themselves to death. Except for this is in a kid's show, so they don't really laugh themselves to death. They just kind of drool a little bit. Oh, and his other powers is he has super strength and he can teleport, which isn't good. Sylvester Uncas created this comic, but it was so scary to him that he only made one issue, then he disappeared from existence. And Frankie has that issue of the comic. Side note, and this has like absolutely nothing to do with the episode, so you can just skip forward a little bit if you don't care. There actually is a manga that kind of has this same premise to it. I actually have it right here. It's called PTSD Radio, and it's just a horror manga, but the author had weird, scary stuff start happening to him, and so he ended up stopping the manga because he was too scared. And he kind of self-inserts himself into the manga. It's really cool. Check it out, please. Got some really terrifying imagery. Like, I love this panel right here. It's so cool. Like, what the fuck is even that? What the fuck is even that? Frankie gives Ethan this last issue as a gift, and like a polite person, Ethan thanks her for the gift, and then she starts acting a little strange.
Don't thank me, Cakes. Thank Sylvester Uncas, wherever he is.
He probably just stopped drawing and moved to Guam. Calm down. He's probably just retired. And the next day at school, they blow up a hot dog for some reason. The teacher's trying to give a lesson about microwaves, and Ethan couldn't care less. He's secretly reading the comic book behind his textbook. Hey, I think the book is upside down though. Somehow the teacher catches him reading it. I also hate this teacher because he's one of those teachers that hates fun, hates anything that's not school, and throws the last first edition of this comic in a fish tank, completely ruining it.
Can't, it's one of a kind.
Correction, it's none of a kind.
Why? I understand taking it away from him and then just like leaving it on your desk, but to purposefully destroy a kid's property like a comic book, why would you do that? Super fucked up. Before I get the comment that's like,
You kids are such pansies. Back in my day, my teacher used to pick me up by the pigtails and swing me back and forth like Loki did to...
like Loki did to Hulk.
And swing me back and forth like Hulk did to Loki in the first Avengers movie. You guys never survive in a Call of Duty lobby.
Shut up. I don't care. It's still wrong to destroy people's properties. masterpiece, don't you think? And I think it gave Ethan depression. Later that day, Ethan comes home to his very loving parents that don't say hi, they just tell him that he needs to start paying attention in school, and he needs to stop wasting his time with the comic book stuff. Even threatening to take away all his comic and art supplies if he doesn't shape up. Oh, and they do all this without taking their eyes off of the TV screen. What great parents. Ethan just decides to ignore his parents. He goes into the kitchen, makes himself some popcorn, and tries to read his soggy comic book. But after about 5 seconds, he gets an idea. He decides to put the comic book in the microwave to dry it off. I think he does need to pay attention in class because I don't think he knows how microwaves work. But at this time, Ethan gets a call from a girl. So he leaves the comic book in the microwave for 10 minutes. Why? And he picks up the phone to Hooper Piccolaro, a nerdy girl from his science class. And while he's on the phone, his mother plugs in there to, oh my God, that's a fire hazard if I've seen one. Anyways, Hooper is calling to tell Ethan what the teacher did to him earlier was really creepy. I wouldn't say creepy, maybe downright despicable. Not creepy though. Then she starts to compliment him on his art. But the microwave explodes, and Ethan checks on his comic to see there's a huge hole in it. Good luck reading that now. Not only that, but there's a Ghastly Grinner shaped hole in his wall now. Ethan's mom comes into the kitchen and tells him to just open a door, but when he turns around,
Too late.
looks like the Grinner got to her already. Freaked out, he runs to his dad to get help, but
Any good jokes lately, Ethan?
it's too late for him too. Ethan decides it's probably best if he doesn't stay in that house, so he runs outside and hides in the bushes. He opens the comic to see a panel of his dad.
Any good jokes lately, Ethan?
What?
Then Hooper scares the shit out of him.
It's only me.
She's such a sweet girl. She was so worried about him because she heard an explosion over the phone. I guess she's just being a decent human being and seeing if he's alive. Ethan catches Hooper up on what's going on, and at this time, Hooper's parents are actually bringing Ethan's parents a gift. Ethan's parents come out and his mom is looking like Mrs. Frizzle, and his dad is looking like he's gonna play red light, green light with a murderous robot. This is when Ethan and Hooper decide to hop on a bus and go to the comic store in hopes that Frankie knows some way to stop the Grinner. And on the way to the comic shop, they take a look at the comic book to see that the Grinner got her parents as well. But in the next panel, they see themselves. That can't be good. The evil bus driver tries his best to flip the bus and kill the kids, but he really sucks at it until Ethan pulls the emergency brake, which I think snapped the bus driver's neck. They make it to the store, and this is when Frankie fills the kids in on the Uncansian theory. It's not a real theory, don't look it up. Sylvester Uncas used to say that he wasn't creating comic books, he was creating other worlds. Literally. So this dude was so good at drawing that whatever he drew would become real. And obviously nobody believed him when he would tell them this, but one day he made a character that made them change their mind. Apparently the Grinner was so bad that Uncas was going to kill him off in the second issue of the comic. But he didn't because the Grinner got him before he could finish the book. Side note, while they're looking at the comic panels, you do see one page that looks like a microwave that matches the microwave that is in their science classroom back at the school. So Ethan accidentally released the Grinner by putting the comic book in the microwave. And this is when we learn some important information. Sylvester Uncas is Frankie's father, and she gave Ethan the comic because she knew that Ethan had the same power as her dad, and she was secretly hoping that he would just finish the comic book and kill off the Grinner. So why don't you tell him to do that? I don't know, that might help. Also, how do you know that he has this power? Do you have proof? Anyways, Hooper is a smart girl, and she notices the comic panel with the microwave in it. And she has a theory that if they find a microwave big enough, maybe they can send the Grinner back to his world. And she also remembers that their science teacher had one. Before they leave, Frankie tries to tell them why this won't work, but looks like they have a visitor. He chokes Frankie, lifts her into the air, and the kids escape. They don't even try to help her. The kids make it to the science room where Ethan sets everything up and Hooper scares him again. But in her scaring him, he scared her, so she dropped her pencil bag. So while they're picking up their pencils, they talk about if it's actually going to work. And around this time, Ethan finds a big funny eraser, which kind of embarrasses Hooper a little bit. Ethan then tells Hooper that she doesn't have to stay if she doesn't want to. It's his problem, his mess, he needs to fix it. And it's too dangerous, so she can leave if she really wants to. But she decides to stay. When suddenly,
I hope there's an explanation for this.
Mr. Poopy Butthole finds them in his room. But luckily for us, the Grinner is there to save them. Maybe a little bit. The kids try to quickly save Mr. Wrightson, but it's no use.
Who needs a good laugh?
The Grinner then grabs Ethan and tries to turn him into one of the giggling idiots, but Hooper pushes him out of the way and they run out as fast as they can before anything bad could happen to them. They run back to the comic store and try to figure out what Frankie was going to tell them before the Grinner appeared. And she just knows that Ethan has to finish the drawings in order for them to defeat the Ghastly Grinner. But Ethan doesn't think he draws good enough for that. But Hooper just boosts his confidence a little bit. She tells him that herself and Frankie both believed in him, so he needs to start believing in himself. And if he doesn't finish the book, well, you know? So Ethan gets to work and we get a short montage of him just coloring and drawing and stuff before we get a shot of the store door and it looks like there's some goo dripping down. Hopefully the Grinner hasn't found his way inside. Well, that's not good. The Grinner grabs Hooper and tries to turn her into one of the idiots, but apparently her personality is so boring and bland that his powers don't work on her.
Sorry, I don't have much of a sense of humor.
That's so cool. That's so awesome. Imagine being so boring that a villain's powers just don't work on you. That's so funny. But luckily for Hooper, Ethan drew a picture of himself as a superhero. That's a little conceited, don't you think? And the two run at each other and then get teleported into the comic book world. And even though they're in the comic book, Hooper can still hear them fighting and arguing in the real world, which is weird. She starts to flip through the comic and look at all the panels and she sees Ethan saves Frankie and Sylvester Uncas. And he uses the microwave in the comic to defeat the Grinner. But he doesn't know how to escape the comic, which isn't good. Oh, and the microwave didn't work in the comic either. But this is when Hooper remembers she has something. A big something. Not that. Get your mind out of the gutter. She runs to her pencil bag and unsheaths the big mistake eraser and quickly erases the Grinner from existence. And saving Ethan and the others from certain death. And for the first time in the whole episode, Hooper shows some emotion.
Hooper, you're laughing.
I guess I'm glad you're not dead.
Oh, how sweet. Now, Ethan finally gets to meet Mr. Uncas, and Uncas passes the torch to Ethan to become a comic book artist. Cut to a little while later, and Ethan's parents are straight lying to the news, talking about how they supported Ethan the whole time.
We knew from the very beginning that he was going to be a star.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, right. And now Ethan is a successful comic book artist, and Sylvester Uncas decided to retire. I would too if I was him. And that's the end of the story, but we fade back into the Midnight Society, where they just end the meeting and go home. Nothing too exciting there. That's the end of the episode. Really good episode. I see why this is one of the more popular episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark? So go check it out if you have Paramount Plus or maybe on YouTube if it's out there. And there are tons of little Easter eggs in this episode, but I didn't want to stop the video every 5 seconds to talk about each comic book hero that's in the episode. So watch the episode. You'll find a bunch of really cool ones. There's Spider-Man, Wolverine, Superman, Batman, everybody's in there. But there are a few of the Are You Afraid of the Dark villains hidden in the background that I will talk about, such as the Crimson Clown, there he is right there, and the Watcher. And I do want to talk about the Ghastly Grinner comic books are coming up in other episodes. You can see it in the Tale of C7 right here, and the Tale of the Manaha right there, right at the beginning too. And it even shows up a few times in the reboot series. So this is definitely one of the popular episodes. If it shows up in other episodes, you know it was pretty good. I also love how creepy and wacky the Grinner is. Like his power is they makes you laugh, and everybody's just terrified of him for that. I think that's so funny. Let me know what you think about the Tale of the Ghastly Grinner in the comments below, and let me know any other Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes you want to see me talk about. I have a Patreon if you want to see videos early or if you want to see uncensored videos and get bonus content. Go join the Patreon. It's $5 for members, or there is a free tier and you can vote on polls and other things there. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace. This is 2 times in a row you guys voted for a clown video. I'm sure if I put another one up, you guys would have voted for that one too. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kingnusmi. A few weeks ago, I asked you guys what episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark you guys would like to see me talk about, and you guys voted for the Crimson Clown. Kind of excited to talk about this one. This one looks pretty terrifying, and according to a lot of people in the comments, this is the scariest entity. I don't know, he's a monster. I don't know what he is, honestly. And for those of you guys that don't know, Are You Afraid of the Dark is a children's anthology horror series that aired in the early 90s on Nickelodeon. Each episode follows this group of kids called the Midnight Society, as they take turns telling each other spooky stories, and we watch the stories that they tell. The Tale of the Crimson Clown is the 12th episode of the 3rd season of Are You Afraid of the Dark, and it's one of the many episodes that is not on Paramount Plus. And according to a lot of commenters, this is the scariest and most memorable episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark. And I agree. I feel like it's a fever dream. If I was like 8 years old and I saw this creepy ass dude, I'd have nightmares. I'd have a lot of nightmares. It stars Michael Berry as Sam, our main character, and you might recognize him from the Goosebumps episode Werewolf of Fever Beaver Swamp. He is the werewolf, Will Blake. It also stars Christopher Redman as his big brother, Mike. He's in another episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? And that episode is called The Tale of the Renegade Virus. And he plays Simon, the main character in that episode. Redman was also in the Goosebumps episode Say Cheese and Die. Again, as Terry. Anyways, that's enough yapping. Let's get into the episode. Start the episode with Tucker fumbling Samantha pretty hard.
I want to go out with you next Friday.
Do I have anything to say about this?
After that failure, we see Eric using Gary as a mule, because Eric found an embarrassing poem that Gary wrote that he is using as blackmail, and he says that he will give him the poem back at the end of the week if he is his servant. I don't know if what you wrote in that note is as embarrassing as having to be this twerp's cherub for the rest of the week. But like me, these guys have been talking for too long, so we need to get into the story. So Gary starts his story off with,
There's an old saying, what goes around comes around.
no matter what you do, it'll always come right back at you. And most of the time, it's when you least expect it. So throw the probably toxic chemicals into the fire and let's begin. And again, I know it's like creamer. I know it's creamer, guys. I just like saying toxic chemicals because it's fun. It's fun. We start the episode by meeting the brothers Sam and Mike. Mike has used his paper delivery job to save up some money to buy his mom a birthday present. He tries to get his brother to come with him so they can pick out a gift together before the stores close, but
Go yourself. I'm watching something.
Sam doesn't care. Mike doesn't mess around with his mama though, so he forces Sam to come.
Let's go. Go where?
Uh-oh. Mike quickly comes up with a lie that him and his brother are just gonna go skating before it gets dark. And of course, she lets them, but she gives them a 6 p.m. curfew. After a short walk, the boys make it to the store where they're gonna buy their mom a gift. No, not that one. This antique store. At least I think it's an antique store. And the way they walk in completely shows you both of their personalities.
Oh, sorry, man. Sorry, here. I'll get the door.
And after about 5 seconds of looking around, Sam gets bored and wants to go to the toy store that's next door. But Mike was told to watch Sam and doesn't want him to leave. He just knows once Sam is out of his vision, something bad's gonna happen.
I'm only going next door.
Mike reluctantly lets Sam go next door, but tells him to stay right there and don't leave.
Yes, ma'am.
Mike walks around the store for a little bit and finds that the owner of the store is a bit greedy and overcharges for everything. He also has a ton of weird stuff, like this clown doll that he's hidden in the porcelain ones. The shop owner is also...
Can I help you?
Geriatric, to say the least. He also looks like Carl from Up. He's Carl from now on. Carl helps Mike find a gift for his mom. And by help, I mean he grabbed something off the table without looking at it. And about this time, Sam walks back in and isn't very amused with the gift that Mike chose out. But Mike likes it, so he's gonna buy it.
How much is it?
For you, $50.
That thing was like $5 before, there's no way. Mike tries to pay for the trinket, but when he opens his wallet, he finds... it's empty. He thinks he might have just left his money at home, but he's pretty sure that he brought it along. Carl just says,
Maybe another time.
and while this whole conversation was happening, Sam was having a staring contest with the clown doll. And I think he's losing. Mike asks Sam if he's seen the money anywhere around, and he turns him to find...
Sam.
Sam used it to buy a video game. Easter egg time! Are You Afraid of the Dark veterans will instantly recognize Zeebo the Clown on the cover of this game called Zeebo's Big House. He's from the episode The Tale of Laughing in the Dark, and this game actually showed up earlier in the episode, but I decided to tell you right here because it made more sense. Sam tries to lie to Mike and tell him that he used his birthday money to buy this game, but Mike's not buying it.
My birthday money.
You spent that on a bike.
I had some left over.
No, you didn't.
Sam must do shit like this all the time because Mike is oddly calm about the whole situation. So Mike forces Sam to go back to the store and try to return the game, but when they get there, it's closed. So Mike just goes back to the antique store and begs Carl to give him the trinket and that he'll come pay him back tomorrow. But Carl is tired of their shit and just tells them no. Mike tries to talk to Sam and make him realize what a selfish and rude thing he did. But Sam doesn't care. He just replies with,
Yeah, I better not pout, I better not shout, because Santa Claus is coming to town.
honestly a very Sam thing to say. Since Sam isn't getting the picture, Mike tries a new method. He tells Sam that the Crimson Clown is watching him and he hurts bad kids.
Watch out, Sam, or he'll get you.
Ooh, I'm scared.
Obviously, Sam doesn't believe him at first, but he stares at the clown for a second, and then the clown proves that he has been watching. Now they spent too much time at the store, and Mike is upset that they're going to be late coming home. And they don't have a gift for their mom because Sam's a little asshole. Sam tries to be funny and tells Mike that maybe he should ask the Crimson Clown for some money, but when he turns around, the clown is gone. And now Sam is left with more questions than answers. The boys head home to a very upset mother.
Where have you been?
And while Mike is away, Sam decides to save his own hide. Sam blames Mike for them being late. He says that Mike wanted to spend extra time at the skating rink to hang out with his friends, and he didn't care how long their mom said they needed to be out. And sadly, she takes the bait.
And Michael, get down here right now!
And as Mike is being yelled at by his mom, Sam is mocking her right behind her back, which seemingly makes Mike even more angry. Sam very smugly goes up to his room and prepares to play his new Zebo game, and after a quick chat with his mom, Sam witnesses his worst fear. The clown somehow made it into their house, and now he's in Sam's room. He calls for his big brother Mike, but by the time Mike gets there, the clown is gone. Or is it? After dinner, Sam gets to watch some TV, and as he's watching the TV, it starts acting a little strange. It sounds like laughter is coming from the TV, and in an instant, the lights go out and the doors slam shut. Now that Sam is trapped, the Crimson Clown reaches out to grab him. He gets closer and closer until...
Oh, is the baby afraid of a little old movie?
Mike unknowingly saves him. Or was that a part of Sam's imagination? Mike picks on Sam a little bit for being scared of the clown.
Whoa, keep it up and the Crimson Clown will get you.
Which is honestly fair. I think Sam should get picked on more. Sam gets pissed off that Mike brought up the clown again and storms off to his room. And this is when Mike tells his mom what happened, which she doesn't approve of.
Just give him a break, sweetie. He's still little.
Once Sam gets upstairs, he finds his bedroom door is locked. After a few bashes, he gets inside to find his room is absolutely trashed, but Mike's side of the room is completely clean, almost spotless. And when I say his room is trashed, I mean trash. There's toys all over the floor, the posters are barely hanging on the walls, and the Crimson Clown is on his bed. The Crimson Clown is on his bed!
Mike!
Oh. Never mind. After another look at the Zebo game, they really wanted you to see that, didn't they? Sam cautiously goes to sleep. And later that night, Mike comes in the room and tells Sam that he's just been kidding about the whole Crimson Clown thing. It isn't true. He just said it to scare him. But Sam, being himself, just says,
Yeah, whatever.
Now I want you guys to buckle up because the next few minutes get pretty crazy. While asleep, we enter one of Sam's dreams. And it looks like he's back in the antique store with no escape. Yeah, buddy, I'm sure lightly tapping on the glass is gonna break it down. Help, let me out. Please, no, help. I want out. Please, please, let me out. And instead of a kooky old man running the store, he gets a life-size Crimson Clown coming to kill him. But luckily for Sam, it was just a dream. Or was it? Because now Sam is strapped down to his bed, and no matter how hard he tries or how loud he screams, he can't escape, which gives the clown all the time it needs. And he chooses to come in through the sheets? For some reason. That's a bit freaky. Not in a sexual way either. Somehow, Sam escapes and uncovers the bed to find the clown's not there. So he goes to wake up Mike, but Mike isn't there either. The clown says,
Nobody will help you, Sam.
Before his head explodes, leaving behind an anti-Sam sign. Sam tries to escape, but no matter where he looks, the clown is there. He opens the bedroom door, but is greeted by more party streamers to drag him to his demise. Sadly, he gets away. But not for long.
No one will help you, Sam.
As the clown slowly inches closer and closer towards Sam, he tells Sam that he's a bad kid, and he does bad things to bad kids, all while maniacally laughing at him. This is when Sam finally apologizes for everything he's done. He apologizes to his brother, his mom, and everyone else, and then the clown finally lets him go. Pretty crazy, right? The next morning, a terrified Sam wakes up to a perfectly clean room and a confused older brother.
I got another chance. I got it. What?
Both of the boys run downstairs to let their mom open her gift, which she obviously loves. Also, there's a small detail here. Whenever she opens the gift, the little gift paper is the same color as the clown's hair, and it scares Sam a little bit. And that's the end of the story. But we cut back to the Midnight Society, where Gary talks about how every kid deserves a second chance, and Sam got his that night.
That is a great story.
Because of this terrifying tale, Eric decides to give Gary his poem back. Probably doesn't want to tussle with the Crimson Clown, which Gary quickly throws into the fire. Frank tries again to ask Sam out, but is met with
You need to cool off.
another rejection. And it looks like Gary's gonna take his girl.
Can I walk you home?
Sure.
And as they walk away, we see the poem that Gary wrote was actually meant for Samantha. Wait a minute, she dumped the water that they use on the fire on Frank, and they're leaving. Hey guys, what about the fire? Guys, that's the end of the episode. I was quite shocked at how good this episode was. I know you guys know I like spooky dolls and stuff, but when I saw this little clown doll, I was like, there's no way they can make this guy scary. I was wrong. Turn that cute guy into a man and give him the most terrifying voice.
Do you know What we do to kids like you?
And he becomes one of the creepiest clowns I've ever seen. And fun fact, this doll of the clown sold for $500,000 on eBay, which is insane. I couldn't find proof, just take my word for it. The clown also showed up in the Tale of the Ghastly Grinner in the comic book store, and I also pointed that out in the video I made about that episode, so go check that out if you haven't seen it. I love the lesson of don't be an asshole or you're gonna die to a killer clown in this episode. It's pretty awesome, and frankly, more kids need to hear about it. Let me know what you think about the Crimson Clown in the comments below. Also, let me know any other episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark you want to see me talk about. I have a Patreon. The $5 members get episodes a day early, plus some bonus content and maybe some pictures of my cats. Like the video if you like the video. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace.
Hi everyone, my name's Kingnusmi. You guys were quite upset that I didn't let you guys vote on the last video because I kind of omitted it to do my own summer thing. So, to make up for that, I decided to let you guys vote on this one. But it was a little limited because I already had 2 more videos in mind. I just let you decide which one I did first. And next week, you won't get to vote again. Love ya. But you guys voted for the Deadman's Float from Are You Afraid of the Dark? For those of you guys that don't know, Are You Afraid of the Dark is a kids anthology horror show that aired on Nickelodeon in the early 90s. Each episode follows a group of kids known as the Midnight Society as they sit around a campfire and tell each other scary stories. And we watch the stories that they tell. Like I said, today we're taking a look at the very popular episode, The Tale of the Deadman's Float. This episode is known as one of the scariest episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark, and probably one of the scariest episodes in kids anthology horror. Even the show creator said that this is one of the scariest episodes he's ever seen. This episode's been recommended to me ever since my very first episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark. So I'm super excited to check it out. So let's quit yapping and get into the episode. We start the episode just like every other episode with the Midnight Society. Sadly, Frank moved away and they have to find a new member for the society. The real reason Frank moved away was the actor got too old and left for college. But I do like that they bring in new people every once in a while to keep the show a little bit fresh, keep new faces coming in and going out. But in case you didn't know, the Midnight Society doesn't let just anyone into their group. They have to tell a story that's good enough to deem them worthy of a spot. So there really are some stakes for the new people. And it seems like everybody's pretty excited about the new member. The only issue with it is Tucker is bringing him. And if you've watched 8 episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark, you'll know that Tucker is one of the most annoying members of the group. Love the guy. He's annoying. And the person he brings in is destined to be just as annoying as him. So they bring the kid in with a burlap sack over his head so they can keep their secret spot a secret. And of course, before they take it off, Kiki tries to make fun of the new guy, but it doesn't go so well for her.
So who's the new meat? Hi, babe.
Looks like Kiki and Stig have some history. Almost immediately, the group start having bad feelings about the new guy. I mean, he is greasy and bro has to stink. But he saves himself by saying,
This is about telling a good story, winning a popularity contest.
Then he almost immediately blows his chances by using Sam's sweater as a cushion so he doesn't get his butt wet.
Don't push it, grungy boy.
He's not having the best start, I'm not gonna lie. They all finally sit down and start listening to his story. Stig starts the story by saying he knows not a lot of people like the way that he is, and that they think that he needs to clean up his act.
But sometimes, things are the way they are for a reason.
If you go changing things that weren't meant to be changed, you might end up with even more trouble. Now, throw the probably toxic chemicals into the fire and let's begin. We start this episode in 1954, and this shitty lifeguard is letting a prepubescent child swim in the pool unsupervised so he can go get freaky with his sister in the locker room. Not the lifeguard sister, the kid's sister. That sounds way bad. While they're sucking face, the boy outside smells something pretty foul. If bro pulls out the P.U., you know that shit stinks. As the stench grows stronger, we get a POV shot of something in the pool, swimming closer and closer to his legs, until the mysterious figure pulls the boy under. He gives the boy just enough time to call for help before taking him away forever. Then we fade into a literal explosion, where we meet our main character, Zeke. You might recognize Zeke from my favorite episode of Goosebumps, Welcome to Camp Nightmare. Go check out that video if you haven't seen it yet. Obviously, Zeke is the typical 90s nerd. He's got glasses, he's a bit of a loser, he talks way too much, and he knows a lot of useless information. Who are you looking at? Zeke accidentally mixed the wrong chemicals into the volcano, causing it to literally explode. And now he's delaying class, which our other main character, Clarice, doesn't appreciate.
What a geek.
But her friend Greta finds Zeke to be a little cute, like a puppy. Her words, not mine.
He's cute, like a puppy you want to take care of.
Greta then forces Clarice to go with her to help him clean up the mess. This is when Zeke confesses that he actually meant to cause the explosion.
If you mix manganite
With water, the reaction is always the same. Kaboom.
Kind of genius, actually. It did get all the kids' attention. Just then, the school bell rings, leaving the mess for the poor janitor. And also, sadly for Greta, Zeke has eyes for Clarice. You see, Clarice is on the swim team, and Zeke knows this. So he tries to ask her if he can show her something special after school. But sadly, he gets rejected. But at least she's nice about it.
I have practice. I'm on the swim team, remember?
Right.
I mean, I've seen worse rejections, but he decides to give it one more shot and asks her to meet him in the school in the morning. She's obviously not interested and just wants him to tell her what he wants to show her.
Well, that's no fun.
Fun?
For some reason, she takes offense to him having an idea of fun. So she takes the bait and agrees to meet him in the morning. Kind of cute seeing Zeke all flustered and nervous. Zeke and Clarice meet up at the school in the morning and head to the boys' locker room. Zeke, being the geek that he is, tried to calculate the volume of the school for some reason, and in doing so, he accidentally found an extra room in the school, a whole abandoned pool. The whole thing looks abandoned, but it does look like the school is using it for extra storage space. Zeke did some research and found that the pool was made in the 1950s, but was only used for a couple of years before it mysteriously shut down.
How come?
I don't know.
I do. It's because a small boy lost his life. That's kind of depressing. Clarice thinks this is really cool, and she decides she's gonna make a petition for the school to reopen the pool so that her and her teammates don't have to drive an hour to practice every day. I don't blame her. If my school was hiding a whole pool room and I had been driving an hour every day to go practice, I'd be a little upset. This is when the kids leave, but we don't cut away yet. The camera slowly pans over to find the janitor. What is he doing here? Anyways, it pans past the janitor to see maybe there was an even darker reason the pool shut down. Clarice eventually got all the signatures that she needed to reopen the pool, and immediately people start smelling that foul stench that the boy smelled before he died. But no kids have gone missing yet, so they just kind of brush it off as maybe some of the pipes are still dirty.
The pipes must still be dirty.
Later on, Zeke overhears that Clarice is failing her chemistry class, and if she doesn't start to do better, then she's going to be kicked out of the swim team. It would really suck if you petition to get a pool reopened, and then a week later, you don't have access to it anymore. That would really suck. Also, if I had a nickel for every time a movie or TV show used the
"if I don't pass this class, I'm gonna get kicked off the football team,"
I'd probably be rich. I'd probably be very rich. Of course, with Zeke having a crush on her and him just being a nice guy, he offers to tutor Clarice, and her friend is being nosy in the background. Go somewhere! But Clarice has trust issues, so she asks,
"What's in it for you?"
why does he have to have a reason to help you? Can't somebody just do something nice like tutor a friend in chemistry so she doesn't get kicked off the pool? Does he have to have a reason to help? So it turns out Zeke doesn't know how to swim. And in return for helping tutor her, he wants her to teach him how to swim. Much like our friend Kai from the last video, go check that out if you haven't, Zeke is scared of the water. So Clarice decides to tackle this fear by putting a raft in the water and floating them around for a little bit. Is that an actual way to get rid of the fear? That's like a genuine question. Do people actually just like put a raft in the water and then people that are scared of water get in the raft and they kind of float around for a little bit till they're comfortable? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. We also learn why Zeke is scared of the water. When he was young, he was swimming in a pond when his legs got tangled in a bunch of underwater plants. He tried his best to get out, but in the process almost drowned. Luckily, his brother was there to save him. But ever since that day, he's felt like something's been waiting in the water for him, waiting for the perfect moment to take him under and kill him.
Because I cheated it once, and it wants a second chance at me.
Clarice hops in the pool to show Zeke that there's nothing to be scared of in the pool. Nothing in there can harm him. She then helps him slowly get acclimated to the pool by just putting one hand into the water. That's when...
Clarice! Clarice!
her friend Greta decides to pull a little prank. Turns out Greta is a little upset at Clarice for hanging out with the guy she has a crush on.
I thought you didn't like puppies. He's helping me with chemistry. Yeah, right.
Ooh, yikes. Zeke is kind of tired already and thinks it's a good idea if they just go ahead and leave. But Clarice is determined now to help him get over his fear. She just tells him to relax and she promises him that there's nothing in the water that can harm him. Okay, that was weird. Anyway, Zeke gets over his fear a little bit by putting one hand in the water. Can you stop doing that? I'm trying to talk. While Zeke has his hand in the water, he tells Clarice that he smells something a little stinky, almost like acid, before being yanked into the water quicker than the speed of light. Like, Jesus Christ, he got yanked in quick. Surprisingly, the trained swimmer doesn't jump in after him. She just yells his name from the safety of the raft. Luckily, Zeke learns how to swim pretty quickly and makes it back up to the raft. He tries to explain to Clarice that something pulled him into the water and then drug him down deep in the water like it was trying to drown him.
There's nobody down there.
I'm telling you, it grabbed me.
Clarice tries to find a logical explanation for what just happened because there's literally nobody else in the pool but them. But maybe they should put the logic to the side because now the mysterious pool monster is trying to flip their raft. So now the two are stuck. If they try to paddle, the monster will yank them into the water, but if they don't paddle, he's going to flip their boat. So naturally, he flips the boat. Luckily for the kids, the janitor was there to save them. They go to the locker room, and this is where we learn the janitor's name is Charlie, and he was the lifeguard for that little boy that died all those years ago. Charlie said he tried his best to save the little boy, but whatever was in the water was faster than him and stronger than him. So he was no match, and he couldn't save the boy. And whenever Charlie tried to tell people, nobody believed him. Until 3 more people sadly lost their lives in that pool. So to just solve it, they just sealed the pool away and forgot about it. And in this scene, you can really tell that this eats at Charlie's conscience. And with the pool being reopened, I guess he feels like it's his duty to watch over it to make sure nobody else dies. And good thing, because if he didn't, then both of our protagonists would be toast or fish food, shark bait. Monster food? I don't know. Charlie tells them that in order to build the pool, they had to tear down a cemetery and move all the bodies. When will these people learn to not tear down cemeteries and put things on top of them? It never goes good. Never. Also, why'd they build a school next to a cemetery? Who thought that was a good idea? But apparently they missed one of the bodies.
And its spirit wants revenge for being disturbed.
So as of right now, the monster is invisible and hides in the water. The only way you know it's nearby is if you smell acid. And in Charlie saying that, this gives Zeke an idea. Zeke thinks that he knows a way that they can catch a glimpse of the monster. They go to the chemistry lab and Zeke grabs a tub of methyl orange. When methyl orange interacts with something acidic, it turns that thing red. So if the creature is actually acidic, it will turn red and they'll be able to see him. So they grab the methyl orange and head off to the pool, but not before Clarice grabs some magnite. Back at the pool, Zeke pours the methyl orange in and almost immediately a red mist starts forming inside the pool. Zeke, being the scientist that he is, leans down to get a better look, but that was a mistake. On the bright side, the plan worked flawlessly and we get a really good look at the corpse. Holy shit, no wonder kids were scared. Who approved of this design? It looks like there's flesh melting off this guy. The appearance of the creature puts Charlie in a state of shock, so the kids have to quickly pull him away and hide him in the locker room. As Clarice does that, Zeke tries to hit the monster with the pool paddle, but the pole just goes right through him. So they simply can't beat the creature to death because it's made of water. They take Charlie to the locker room and try to pull him out of this state of shock. And as they do this, red water starts to bubble out of one of the drains. It looks like they took away the creature's only defense tactic, and since it can't hide anymore, it's actively trying to kill them. Just then, Zeke starts smelling a familiar stench.
Oh no.
Man, this guy's relentless. The kids escape again and quickly think of a way to stop him. Since the corpse is made of water, Clarice comes up with the idea to use the magnite on him. Because we know from earlier, if you mix water and magnite, you get... So that should probably work. Which Zeke thinks is a great idea, but when Clarice tries to open it, Zeke... hits it out of her hand.
There's moisture on your hands, it'll burn you.
Okay, I guess that's sweet, my guy, but you hit the explosive chemical in the pool. The chemical that when it interacts with water, it explodes, and you hit it into the pool of water. Luckily, the lid's on tight, or we would be in a mess. So Clarice decides to dive in after it. But of course, she can't go in alone. Something's chasing her. Zeke tries to warn Clarice that the monster's coming after her, but it might be too late. The corpse slowly walks towards Clarice as she's frozen in fear. And the only thing Zeke can think to do is to join them in the water, which works. It does distract the corpse from Clarice, giving her enough time to get out of the pool, put on some gloves, and open up the tub. But the only issue with the plan is that Zeke can't swim, and the monster is really good at it. The corpse gets dangerously close to Zeke, but luckily for him, Charlie is there to save him again. What would we do without Charlie, man? And just in time, too.
You're red!
Then we watch the corpse literally melt away in front of our eyes. really cool scene. I really enjoy this one. Finally ending his terror. Charlie thanks the kids for finally stopping the corpse and giving him some closure. But we aren't done yet. We got to a little bit later and Zeke and Clarice are actually dating now and they have quite the cute relationship. Zeke just lays in the raft and reads books as Clarice swims in the pool. Zeke still isn't very fond of the water though, and I can see why. And that's the end of the story, but we fade back to the Midnight Society and it's time for them to decide if Stig can stay or not. And after that terrifying story, they better let my boy in. Everyone huddles and discusses if they should let him in. And while they do that, Stig decides to try some of the non-dairy creamer that's in the bag. I mean toxic chemicals.
Hey!
Sadly, Stig doesn't make the cut.
But it's not fair.
That's what I'm saying. Bro told possibly the best story in all of the Midnight Society and he doesn't make it? They just vote him out because he's a little stinky and weird. Come on. Luckily, they decide to give Stig one more chance to make a scary story. And then they will really decide if he can stay. The next episode is his second story and it's the tale of 109.1 and it's actually pretty good and they decide he can stay. But he's not a member yet, so they throw the sack back over his head and dump the water in the fire and that's the end of the episode. Honestly, a really scary episode. I did not expect it to be that scary at all. It's like almost Dreamcatcher levels of scary. It's pretty crazy. I do want to talk a bit about the corpse. So on the wiki, it says he's an evil spirit, but also a zombie. I don't know how that works. Is it like when the chemicals mixed in, it turned his corpse back to a zombie? Or is he just an invisible zombie maybe? Or is he just a colored ghost? Well, I don't understand it. And usually spirits don't stink. They're not stinky, but corpses are stinky. So maybe he's more zombie than ghost. I'm gonna start like a real argument. Is the corpse a zombie or a ghost? He can't be both. He has to be one or the other. Unless they made some kind of new creature. I guess it is fiction. They can do whatever they want. Let me know what you think he is in the comments below. There's a lot of stuff I really like about this episode. They do tension really well in this episode. Sometimes I feel like Are You Afraid of the Dark really lacks in the tension building, but this one, he did really good. And in the music, whenever the corpse is around, but you don't see him on screen, you actually hear like little ticks of a Geiger counter in the music. Like,
almost drowned.
Oh man, what happened?
Well, my brother saw me, cut me loose.
it's almost like the corpse is somewhat radioactive and coming after them. I just like it. I don't know why. It added like a special creepy factor that you wouldn't get in other episodes. I also love the design of the corpse. I know it kind of looks like they just put a bunch of meat dangling off of him and a skull mask on. I think it looks really cool. I also don't know how that got past executives. Like, it literally looks like the corpse is like melting. It's crazy. Let me know what you think of the design in the comments below. I think what made this episode super scary is the corpse. He's completely silent the whole time. He makes no noise beside maybe coming out of the water. He's also super fast. When you're in his element, there's no surviving, and they get in his element a lot. But even out of his element, he does pretty well. They also have him as like a goo at some point, so maybe he's like a Splatoon character and he could just turn into like a red mush of water and come after you. I really like this episode. Let me know what you think about it. Minus a few moments of poor acting, this is a really solid episode, probably one of the best in the whole series. But what do you expect from my boy Kai Erickson? I have a Patreon. The $5 members get videos a day early, plus some bonus content and maybe some pictures of my cats and your name right here on screen. Whoa. Like the video if you like the video. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace. Guys, can you believe I'm the first person ever to talk about this episode on YouTube? Don't look that up. Hi everybody, my name's Kingnusmi. A couple of weeks ago, I asked you guys what episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark you guys would like to see me talk about, and you guys voted for The Tale of Laughing in the Dark. The Tale of Laughing in the Dark is one of the most iconic episodes of the whole series, and it's actually the second episode of the whole series. And it's said to be one of the scariest thanks to the villain of the episode, Zeebo. Zeebo is an icon in the fan base, and he's mentioned multiple times throughout the series. They mention him in The Tale of the Whispering Walls, The Tale of Train Magic, The Tale of the Mystical Mirror, and The Tale of the Night Shift. He also appears on a video game cover in the episode The Tale of the Crimson Clown. So the dude is all over the series. And it's also the first appearance of Aaron Tagger, who would later become one of the most iconic villains, Dr. Vink. And during my poll, there was a little bit of discourse on which episode I should talk about. A lot of people called this episode overrated. So I'm here to ask the question, is the episode actually pretty good, or is it actually overrated? So let's quit yapping and get into the episode. We start this episode by being introduced to the amusement park Playland, where the spook house Laughing in the Dark resides. Which doesn't look too creepy from the outside, but oh, just you wait till you see the inside. The inside will haunt you forever. Oh, maybe it's not that scary after all. But it's not over yet. You haven't met the scariest of them all. What? That's the scary clown people freak out over? I mean, the little girls might be screaming, but they don't even look scared in the slightest. And he doesn't even move. At least this guy did a little dance for us. He might not be that scary to me, but back at the Midnight Society, he absolutely freaks Kristen out. She is so scared of clowns that she almost walks out of the meeting. And she would have walked out if it wasn't for Kiki and Eric being their usual selves and picking on her a little bit.
Oh, I heard of that. They call it bozophobia.
So to prove to them that she's actually not scared, she sits back down and lets Beth continue her story. So Gary hands her the bag and she throws the probably toxic chemicals into the fire, and we begin the story. We start the story by meeting our main character and a couple of his friends. Our main character is named Josh, and he's played by Christian Tessier, who's also in the episode The Tale of the Curious Camera, and he's in the Goosebumps episode Say Cheese and Die. We also get to meet his best friend Ouija, who isn't in a lot of stuff, but his sister Kathy is. She's played by Tamar Kozlov, and she's also in The Tale of Old Man Corcoran. She was actually the voice of Prunella and Arthur. Sadly, I don't watch much Arthur, so I don't know who that is.
I do.
Ah, who said that?
It's me, Matt Neff, from FUDW, and also other videos, but mostly FUDW.
Oh, it's usually just me in these videos, so I thought the voices were coming back. Hey, there's a pretty annoying kid in this episode. You think you can help me talk smack about him?
Sure, I've got some time.
Okay, sweet. The kids are having fun running around Playland. That is until they make their way to the spook house. Obviously, Josh thinks it'll be a lot of fun, but Ouija and Kathy are a little too scared. They say that the ride Laughing in the Dark is actually haunted by a ghost of a clown, and they don't want to go in there. So Josh does the only thing he can think to do and peer pressures them into going inside. And he even pulls the chicken card.
Funny. Smells a little foul to me.
Come on, man, you only pull that out for a last resort. That is until he bumps into the weird old circus carny. The carny tells him that the story of Zebo is indeed real and he is inside the ride. He also tells them,
pick the right door and you'll go free. Pick the wrong door and there he'll be.
This is when Josh suddenly switches up and now he's too scared to go inside the ride. He tells the circus carny that he'll come back another time, and that's when the carny tells him,
I'll be here. I'm always here.
Josh starts to walk away, but he turns around to see that the carny has disappeared. And Zebo just won't stop laughing at him. Cut back to the Midnight Society where Kristen is still petrified, but she claims that she's okay.
Fine, I'm fine.
Yeah, okay, buddy. Kiki tries to poke fun at Kristen, but Gary puts a stop to that really quickly, and we move back on into the story. Ouija did some research into the ride, and he found out that Zebo the Clown was a real clown, and that the Laughing in the Dark ride that's there now wasn't the original one. The story goes that in 1920, a circus came to town, and they set up near Playland. While they were there, Zebo the Clown thought it would be a good idea to steal the whole circus's payroll. A whole $4,000. That's it? Never mind, I put it into an inflation calculator, and that's the equivalent to $63,000. Zebo thought it would be a good idea to run from the cops and hide inside the Laughing in the Dark ride. But the clown, literally, threw out one of his cigars and burned the ride to the ground, with him trapped inside, where he died by burning to death.
Smoking's bad for your health.
That's probably the smartest thing he's ever said. Years later, they built a new Laughing in the Dark ride, and they decided to put Zebo at the end of the ride to scare people. But legend has it that the ghost of Zebo is still there, and Josh thinks he knows why Zebo is still there, so he can capture kids.
And tickle them!
Huh? He tries to tickle Kathy and chases her all the way outside, where she outsmarts him. To be fair, it's probably not that hard to outsmart him. Ouija and Josh then start arguing about if the ride is actually haunted or not. Ouija claims that kids have gone in there and seen and heard things that they can't explain. But Josh says,
it's a spook house, lame ball. It's supposed to be spooky.
Well, he does have a point there. And since Josh is so big and tough, Ouija dares him to go inside the ride alone because he thinks that Josh is actually just as scared as them. But he just doesn't want to admit it. So the two warp time and space and end up in front of the ride almost immediately. That's a joke. It was actually a pretty nice transition. Ouija and Kathy don't really trust Josh. They think that he's gonna just stand at the door and never actually go inside. So to prove that he actually goes inside, he vows to steal Zebo's nose. And if he does, then Ouija's gonna have to wear it to school for a week. So they agree and Josh heads inside. Right before he enters the ride, he is greeted by the circus carny, who eerily invites him in and tells him,
it's the most fun in the park when you're laughing in the dark.
Before letting him in and slamming the doors behind him. Inside, Josh wanders around for a little bit. He even gets jump scared by the shitty Frankenstein animatronic. And he does find a fun mirror where he makes the joke,
hand over the dough. What do you think I am, some kind of clown?
Before walking 2 feet and meeting an actual scary clown.
What do you think I am, some kind of clown?
Or maybe the actual ghost of Zebo. Now Josh is actually scared and he tries his best to escape the ride as fast as possible. But as he's trying to find his way out, he smells cigars. Finally, he falls into the room with Zebo inside. He contemplates just leaving, but wait, you can't leave just yet, you don't have his nose. Or he'll have to risk being picked on for being too scared to go into the ride. He heads back in and finds the door Zebo's hiding behind. Come on, man, you knew he was coming. Josh calms himself down by telling himself, it's only a dummy, it's not real, but he still can't seem to bring himself to do it, even when Zebo leans down to help him out. Finally, the dude mans up and quickly yanks the nose off of Zebo, and he even taunts Zebo a little bit.
Hope you can still smell your stinky cigars without your nose.
And runs out of the spook house. Wait a minute, was he just flipping him the bird? Sir, this is a kid's show. You can't be flipping people the bird. And you're a child. He might have stolen Zebo's nose, but Zebo isn't done with him yet. Josh was annoyingly cocky before, but now that he's proved Ouija wrong and stole Zebo's nose, he's a bit unbearable. He talks about mounting and engraving the nose because beating a mall mannequin wearing a clown costume is a huge accomplishment. And he claims that he wasn't even scared in there at all. And it was super easy for him. Yeah, he totally wasn't shitting his pants in there. Ouija is obviously pissed at the whole situation, so he just throws the nose into the bushes. But he and Josh had a deal, and Josh isn't going to let him escape that easily. Josh searches for the nose in the bushes, and he starts to smell a familiar smell. The smell of cigars. It's coming from the side of Ouija's house, but when he checks, nobody's there. But the nose is, and a little creeped out from the situation, Josh quickly heads back inside with Zebo's nose. But Zebo isn't too far behind him. Later that night, Josh heads home to find out that his mom and dad are going to be out for the night. But no worries, they left him some food to put in the microwave and some pudding for dessert. And while his food cooks, Josh decides to try a bit of the pudding himself when someone opens a door nearby. Damn, that was the loudest creak I've ever heard. Josh grabs a baseball bat out of the pantry. That's a weird place to keep it. And slowly walks over to the closet door that creaked open. But nobody's there. Suddenly, he gets a call from Ouija. Ouija apologizes for being so mad earlier. But of course, Josh thinks it's okay for him to be mad. And to make Ouija a little bit happier, Josh decides to make him wear the nose for only one day, not a whole week. It's actually pretty nice of him. Josh hangs up on Ouija, but almost immediately gets another call. But it's not Ouija calling him back. It's Zebo, and he wants his nose back. At first, Josh thinks it's just Ouija trying to play a prank on him, but he's still pretty rattled about the situation. He tries to explain what just happened to him as he pulls every utensil out of the drawer. What is he doing? Luckily, he realizes that he's being stupid and he stops freaking out. That is until he takes his spaghetti out of the microwave and he finds that it's been replaced with cigars. Looks like Zebo is paying him a little visit after all. Josh sprints up to his room and calls Ouija. He tries to make Ouija confess that it was him that called earlier, pretending to be Zebo. Of course, Ouija says it wasn't him, and he even pokes fun at Josh for being scared of Zebo. That is until somebody else joins the call.
Why would I? What was that? Is that you, Kathy?
Josh thinks that maybe it's his little sister Kathy eavesdropping on them, but Ouija tells him that their family only has one phone, so it had to be from his house. Zebo picks up the phone and says,
"If you don't give it back, I'll come up and get it."
Josh realizes that he hasn't locked the door, but luckily he gets to the door just in time to lock Zebo out. But that's not gonna stop him. Zebo uses a balloon to send him a message. He airs up a balloon that reads, "Give it back," and then tries to break the door down. And as he's doing this, Josh makes a quick escape out on the window. He heads back over to the park into the Laughing in the Dark ride. He gets into the room with Zebo, but suddenly gets cold feet and decides to escape. Except the doors are locked, so Zebo won't let him escape. Zebo's door opens on its own and smoke just flows from the inside. Josh apologizes for taking his nose and gently places it down on the ground in front of him. He also bought Zebo some cigars? How did he get cigars? Probably stole them from his dad, let's be honest. It looks like Zebo accepts his offer and lets him leave. So it does look like Zebo got the last laugh after all. And as Josh escapes, the circus carny tells us,
"It's the most fun in the park when you're laughing in the dark."
And that's where the story ends, but we cut back to the Midnight Society. They discuss whether it was the circus carny pulling a prank on Josh this whole time or not. David even tosses the idea that maybe the carny was the ghost of Zebo, which is what I personally believe. But most of all, Kathy sat through the whole story, and she's officially gotten over her fear of clowns. Or has she?
One way!
And that's the end of the episode. Okay, so I'm about to make a lot of people very mad, so if you like this episode, you should probably just click off this video right now. Like I said earlier, this is one of the scariest and most iconic episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark? And I do not see why. There are a lot better and even scarier episodes than this one. Sure, Zeebo is fun and all, but he's not really that scary. The dude is literally a goofy looking mannequin with glowing red eyes. The only time he is actually scary to me is when the ghost of Zeebo appears in the mirror. That's scary. Use that. I don't know why they didn't use that more. It would have been awesome if he opened up Josh's door and, like, you know, a back shadow of a clown. That would have been sick. That would have been cool. There is even a fake comic cover that is scarier than the episode. Honestly, that dude's art is awesome. I might buy the Deadman's Float one. Are You Afraid of the Dark has done clowns 3 times, and I have talked about each one of them, which is very sad for me. And out of the 3 clowns, I put Zeebo in last place. The Ghastly Grinner is definitely the scariest. There is no competition there in my eyes. But we got to actually see the Crimson Clown try to physically kill a kid. And the Crimson Clown voice is really creepy. Zeebo's voice is actually pretty creepy too. I don't want you guys to think I actually just hate this dude. But in the episode, Zeebo just kind of pulled a prank on a kid and then called him a couple of times. And I can't even think about how unlikable the main character is. I'm just gonna let Matt take that one.
My pleasure. The thing I hate most about this freckled-faced freak is how everything that happens in the episode is entirely his fault. If he'd just kept his grubby little hands to himself, all this creepy clown crap could have been avoided. Don't believe me? Let's review. Josh spent the whole episode teasing his best friend for being too chicken to go into a haunted house. Even though he himself is a massive chicken shit, he only agreed to go in based on a dare and insisted on stealing the clown's nose to prove he went all the way through, cause it's not like handheld cameras were a thing in 1992. He barely made it through the fire hazard of a fun house without crapping his cotton shorts, and had the gall to give the finger to this discount Spirit Halloween prop. He tried to make his best friend wear the nose to school for a whole week, and insisted on tickling his little sister, which isn't the worst thing that happens in the episode, it's just weird. He invoked the wrath of this Kmart killer clown who decided to track Josh down and give him secondhand lung cancer. And even after Josh returned Zeebo's nose, he brought along a box of cigars, which he either stole from his dad or bought from a shady back alley cigar salesman. Either way, bite me, Ginger Snap. Also, this has nothing to do with the episode, but do these kids really meet every day at midnight? When the hell do they sleep? I can't imagine they're able to stay awake in class. Their grades must be horrible.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Now that I've been a certified hater for a little while, let's talk about the good things in the episode. I do really like the cinematography in this episode. There are multiple really cool shots, and I think this is the first time they did the classic Are You Afraid of the Dark camera tilt thing that shows up for the rest of the series. I do think this episode is really well shot. It's very easy to watch. It doesn't really hurt your eyes. There's no jolting to different scenes like a lot of other horror shows like to do. So they did a good job on that. I really like that. I also think they did a good job on the storytelling of the episode. The Zeebo backstory is really good. I like how they have him trapped inside the Laughing in the Dark ride as it burned down. It's actually really interesting and a really nice kind of legend to tell. I also like the cue of Josh smelling cigars when Zeebo was near. I just kind of wish we saw Zeebo. And of course, the circus carny is the best. He's very charismatic and also super creepy, and he steals the show. I guess I just expected a little more from one of the most iconic and scariest episodes of the whole series. Sorry if I shit on your favorite episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark. You can leave me a 7-paragraph essay on why I'm wrong. I'll just tell you right now, I ain't reading all that. So yes, I do think this episode is a bit overrated. It's a decent episode. It was nice to watch. It was fun. It's not that scary to me, and there are arguably a lot better episodes. And I have said this before, I believe that Are You Afraid of the Dark got better and scarier as the seasons went on. So this being in season 1 kind of proves my theory. But let me know what you think about this episode in the comments below. I have a Patreon. The $5 members get episodes a day early, plus some bonus content, maybe some pictures of my cats, and a new Discord server. Also your name right here on screen. Like the video if you like the video. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace. Guys, why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field. What? You've already heard that one? Stupid, I knew I should have got my jokes from puns.com. Hi everybody, my name's Kingnusmi. I decided to dedicate the month of November to scarecrows. So I decided to talk about a few scarecrow-based episodes from your favorite shows. Because I feel like scarecrows are some of the scariest creatures in horror media, and they don't get used enough. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, The Tale of the Silent Servant, which is the last of 3 scarecrow episodes that I wanted to talk about. So if you enjoy this video, make sure you check out my other 2 videos, the Scarecrow Walks at Midnight from Goosebumps, and the companion from Creepshow. And for those of you guys that don't know, Are You Afraid of the Dark is a children's anthology horror show that aired on Nickelodeon from 1992 to 2000. It follows a group of kids called the Midnight Society as they sit around a campfire and tell scary stories, and we watch the stories that they tell. It has 7 seasons of spooky stories and some really legendary characters for horror media. It was revived in 2019 and now tells seasonal based stories like American Horror Story rather than episodic horror stories like it did in the 90s. And today we're going to take a look at the 7th episode of the 4th season, The Tale of the Silent Servant. This episode really isn't talked about very much, even though it's one of the better written stories in my opinion. It also has a pretty good message for kids, so I think it's kind of underrated. But I can get more into why I think that later in the video, so let's quit yapping and get into it. We start this episode with the Midnight Society, of course, and Kiki and Frank are mad at Betty Ann because she didn't want to sneak into a movie and get in trouble. After the movie they watched was over, they tried sneaking into another theater because the door was open and they were just right there. And they almost successfully got into it, but Betty Ann decided to yell,
"Hey guys, this way out!"
and got them kicked out. And while they're complaining about this, Betty Ann takes this moment to say a monologue about doing the right thing rather than staying silent.
Silence is power.
She says science is the power of the unknown, and it could be a blessing or truly evil. Now throw the probably toxic chemicals powdered creamer into the fire and let's begin. We start the story with a farmer who finds a man sleeping in his barn holding some sort of talisman. The farmer's name is Mr. Earlstead, and he yanks the talisman out of the man's hand and scaredly says,
"What have you done?"
The man, who they call Crazy George, claims that something attacked him and that it's still nearby. And the show immediately proves his point because the door behind Mr. Earlstead is slowly creaking open. Crazy George spouts some gibberish to the man before running away in a panic. It is then revealed that Mr. Earlstead actually has control over the beast and that it must do exactly everything he says. He's angry at the beast for revealing itself to another person, so he locks the beast in a barn and tells him that he'll be back very soon.
After I take care of our friend George.
Uh-oh. Rest in peace, Crazy George. I will remember you. Cut to 20 years in the future, and we finally get to meet our main characters, Jared and his cousin, Anne. They're playing catch outside when Jared gets a bit too confident and tells Anne to go long. He then chucks the baseball through the window. Kid does have quite an arm though, I gotta say. And then Jared immediately throws Anne under the bus about the broken window.
Told her not to go back so far.
This obviously angers his Uncle Pete, who tells the kids that they're gonna have to work off the price of the window, and they're not allowed to play baseball until they do so. But their first task is a very simple one. They just have to deliver some beans to a neighbor that's down the road. That should be super easy. And the next day they're gonna have to help build a fence around a garden to keep some deer out.
This isn't fair.
Breaking my window wasn't fair.
On the way to deliver the beans, Jared spots Mr. Earlstead's old barn and his gravestone. Yikes. And tells Jared that there is a myth that Mr. Earlstead was actually a sorcerer and that he had invisible servants take care of his farm for him.
And you believe that stuff?
And what if I do, Jared? What then? Jared is a bit curious to see what's inside the barn, and of course it's just decrepit and rotting. But he does find some spare wood that he could use to make a dugout in his baseball field. So naturally, the kids just start ripping the barn to shreds. Little do they know, somebody is waiting on them to release him. Oh no. Wait, was he in there for 20 years? Oh my god, he must have been so lonely. Jared then has a genius plan to put the scarecrow in the garden to scare the animals away. But Anne claps back with,
Scarecrows scare crows, not deer.
She does have a point there. But she goes with his plan and she helps him take the scarecrow back home. And as they lift it up, she finds the strange talisman that Crazy George had earlier. And it looks like the symbol that's on Mr. Earlstead's gravestone. But of course the kids don't think anything about the weird talisman and they just take the scarecrow home. They set it up and it is very creepy, honestly. It's a very simple design, but it almost looks like it's human. It's just missing eyes and a nose. It's very Uncanny Valley-esque and definitely nightmare fuel. Anne's big brother Mark comes to check on the kids and sadly informs them that even though they got a scarecrow, they still have to build a fence. And they also inform him that they forgot to give the neighbor his beans. How hard is it to deliver beans, man? So the kids rush back to the old barn to get the beans that they left behind, but they're not alone.
Good death comes to those who wait.
Looks like Crazy George is still alive, thank God. And he's kind of panicking because the talisman is missing. The kids tell him that they haven't seen any dragons, which is a lie. And Crazy George starts going, well, crazy, and he tells the kids in a very confusing way that Mr. Earlstead raised the servants, and only he is the one to stop the terror.
But he's dead. Yet, the servant walks.
He warns the kids that once the magic spell has been said, it can't be undone, and that the servants are always listening.
Gallo Vector, Solemnus. The servant will hear it nevermore.
Why'd you say the magic words? You crazy? Oh, wait. This understandably freaks out the kids, so they make their escape while he laughs maniacally because he knows what damage is about to be done. The kids run all the way back home with the beans. Come on, man. They also rediscover that they actually did have the dragon talisman all along. Jared opens up the talisman to find that there's a hidden scroll inside with the forbidden incantation written on it. So obviously he reads it out loud. Cause that's smart, which makes Jared the new master of the Scarecrow. Later that night, the kids are taking out the trash when they hear a strange noise behind them, and they turn around to see something terrifying. The Scarecrow is now somehow directly behind them. They sprint to Mark and they try to explain to him everything that has happened, but they're talking too fast and too panicky, so he just tells them to show him what they're talking about. So they take him to where the Scarecrow was standing and it's now gone. But Mike finds it about 20 feet away lying next to the trash cans. Hey, that's me after a good night with the boys. What am I kidding? I don't leave my house. Mark tries to find a rational explanation for why the Scarecrow is now laying next to the trash cans. And he even offers to help them set it back up in the garden. But they turn that offer down. And Jared once again blames Anne for the situation that they have found themselves in.
You never should have broke that window. You're the one who threw the ball. You should have caught it.
He seriously thinks that her not catching a ball that he threw 20 feet over her head is her fault, and is also the reason a Scarecrow is alive, because she's definitely the one that read the paper. So Jared angrily tells the Scarecrow that it should be the one to fix the window because it's supposed to be his servant, and while it's at it, might as well deliver the beans. Please, Scarecrow, deliver those beans. Please, I'm begging you, somebody needs to do it. And after his little fit, the kids just go off to bed. And the next day when the kids wake up, the window is fixed, and the neighbor got his beans. Finally! But they still have to help build a fence around the garden. And they get pretty far in the process, but Mark has a game that he has to get to, so they're gonna have to finish it the next day. Which lazy Jared doesn't want to have to do. After Mark leaves, Anne confesses to Jared that she thinks the Scarecrow was the one to fix the window and deliver the beans. Because there is no way Mark would have had that much pity to both fix the window and deliver the beans for the kids. And there is simply no other way it could have happened. But Jared doesn't believe her, and to prove her wrong, he commands the Scarecrow to finish the fence for them. But the Scarecrow gives Anne the creeps, so she asks Jared to take the command back because they both heard what Crazy George said.
George is crazy. What's your excuse?
Damn, he got you there. Gosh, sheesh. You have to go that hard on her. And that night, Anne reads up on the scroll just in case she has to put matters into her own hands. And the next day when the kids wake up, Mark is impressed on how quickly they finished the fence, which they obviously had no idea was finished. But since they got all their work done, they get the afternoon off. And this has Jared super stoked. Now he has a servant that'll do anything he tells it to. So he tells it to build him a dugout for his baseball field. But like I said, Anne did her research on the servant the night before.
Calavector Solemnos, cancel the command.
And she tries her best to make Jared stop while he's ahead. And the kids head off to town because they got the day off, but when they get back,
I told you! This is great!
The servant has finished the dugout for Jared, but he used the boards from the fence to build it. Yikes. Mark is understandably pissed because the fence is now ruined, and the kids tried to explain to him that the Scarecrow was the one that tore it down. But Mark is tired of hearing the kids out, and he tells them that they need to find a better excuse for Uncle Pete. And he grounds the two for being menaces. But he does give them their gloves back, so at least they can go play catch. That night, Jared discovers that Mark accidentally gave them the wrong bag and didn't actually give them their gloves back. But Jared, being Jared, thinks somebody stole his baseball glove, and he's not too happy about that.
I'd like to kill whoever did.
Ah, shit. Luckily, he immediately regrets saying this, but it's already too late. The Scarecrow is off to kill Mike because he stole his glove. They quickly try to break the talisman to stop the Scarecrow, but only the true master can separate the dragons and stop him. So Jared tries to smash it, but he's about as strong as SpongeBob lifting up his stuffed animals. But luckily, it's after Mark's baseball game, and Anne knows exactly where they hang out. Of course it's a cornfield, you rednecks. And as the kids are racing to Mark, the Scarecrow is creeping in on him. Like, literally creeping. The dude moves so slow. But luckily, the kids make it to Mark first, and they warn him about the scarecrow. But Mark claims that he doesn't have Jared's glove. He must have left it on another bag that's on the tractor, which their Uncle Pete is currently driving, as the scarecrow watches him very close by. This is when something mysterious happens and the tractor breaks down in the field. And this is when Uncle Pete too discovers the bags have been swapped. And he's not too happy about that. Well, he's about to be dead, so... Jared tries to tell Anne that they need to go save his uncle, but Anne finally steps up to him and tells him, no, we're gonna do things my way this time. Mark and the kids hop in his truck and Mark rushes the kids to Mr. Earlstead's grave, as the scarecrow just creeps closer and closer to Pete. Luckily, they break the dragons just before the servant hurts Pete. And Anne says the spell to put the servant back to sleep.
Calibector Solemna, go back where you came from!
Defeating him for good. Well, hopefully. Damn it. And that's the end of the story, but we fade back into the Midnight Society, where they end the meeting for the night, and Frank and Kiki apologize to Betty Ann by offering to take her to another movie and pay for her ticket.
Except I picked the flick.
Very wholesome. And that's the end of the episode. I personally think this episode is very underrated. No, it doesn't have the scariest scenes ever. It doesn't even break the top 20 scariest episodes. But I think the storytelling in this episode is top tier, and compared to all the other episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark, the acting really isn't that bad. Not bad at all. And most of the characters are really lovable. Uncle Pete, for example, never gets overly upset with the kids, even after they break his window. He stays calm and cool with them, and he gives them a pretty fair punishment, in my opinion. Also, Pete was played by Brian Dooley, who was actually in the very first episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, The Tale of the Phantom Cab, as the cab driver, which is pretty awesome if you ask me. Anne's big brother Mark was also a very lovable guy. He was always willing to hear the kids out on their wild explanations, and he never made them feel dumb or crazy for thinking the scarecrow was alive. His reaction at the end when he realized that they weren't lying is pretty funny though.
What in blazes?
Mark was played by Tyler Labine, who actually has had a pretty successful career outside of Are You Afraid of the Dark. He's in a bunch of really good movies, but you probably know him best as Dale from Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. I'm also glad that Jared had his comeuppance. He was way too cocky the whole episode. He was willing to throw Anne under the bus at any moment just so he could make himself look better and push the blame off of him. He even blatantly doesn't listen to Anne when she tries to warn him multiple times of the dangers that the servant will bring. Needless to say, I'm glad Anne grew the balls to tell him no. That made me so happy. Crazy George was also an interesting insert for the episode. We honestly didn't really need him if you think about it. Sure, the scene where he scares the kids by being absolutely insane does add an extra scary scene, which this episode lacks. But just 2 minutes later, Jared reads the scroll again, which tells us the same information, so we really didn't need to have that scene in there. We also didn't need to see him grab the talisman and put it back together at the very end of the episode, although it does add an extra horror element of the servant coming back one day. I'm just saying, he kind of was a little unnecessary, if you ask me. I mean, he was important for the backstory, but they could have just killed Crazy George off as well. What can I say? Crazy George is played by Sam Malkin, and he was actually Scratch in the Goosebumps episode, The Tale of the Barking Ghost? What the fuck? And he was actually Scratch in the Goosebumps episode, The Barking Ghost. Speaking of Goosebumps, this episode brings back the magic element to explain why the Scarecrow is alive, just like Goosebumps did in The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. And both this episode and the book were released just months apart, so it's kind of just a strange coincidence that they had similar ideas around the same time. Because Lord knows, writing for an episode of a TV show takes a while, just like writing a book takes a while. Now let's talk about the Scarecrow. The Scarecrow had the potential to be one of the scariest creatures in all of Are You Afraid of the Dark? The realistic face, the pits for eyes, the eerie vibes that just radiate off of him. He moves slow but fast at the same time, and in the wrong hands, he could easily take over the world. But sadly, all we get to see him do is build a fence and walk a little bit. I just feel like there was a ton of wasted potential for this guy. There's really no threat to the main characters of the episode, which I feel like is where they messed up. They could have made Jared a bit more power hungry and made him feel like he's invincible because he has a servant that'll literally do anything for him. That is until he accidentally gives the wrong command and has the Scarecrow turn on him and start coming after him, rather than the Scarecrow pursuing Uncle Pete, who has probably less than a minute of screen time in the episode. But like I said, the servant is actually a pretty creepy guy, and the moments where he is moving around on his own and stuff are actually pretty scary. I just wish they utilized him more, been a little bit more creative with him. But let me know what you think about this episode in the comments below. I have a Patreon. The $5 members get bonus content, plus videos a day early, maybe some pictures of my cats, and a Discord server, also your name right here on screen. Like the video if you liked the video. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace. Why would they make an episode about books? Books are boring. Books are for nerds.
Jarvis, blur out my books, please. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name's Kingnusmi. I asked you guys which episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark you wanted to see me talk about, and you guys voted for The Tale of the Bookish Babysitter. Oh, wait. There we go. This time I decided to not listen to the polls and go with the episode that got last place. But I will admit, this poll was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. I figured the Phantom Cab would have at least 70%. I also know people like familiarity. That's why I put the Phantom Cab on the poll, but there's already tons of videos about that episode. Hell, even JonTron has a video about that episode, and I will talk about it one day. But I wanted to go with the episode in last place to try and give the underdog a chance for once. And who knows, maybe this will inspire some of you to start voting for episodes you haven't seen before. And for the people that don't know, Are You Afraid of the Dark is a children's anthology horror show that follows a group of kids called the Midnight Society as they tell scary stories around the fire, and we watch the stories that they tell. It aired on Nickelodeon from 1992 all the way to 2000, and it has 7 seasons of spooky stories and some legendary characters for fans of horror. It was revived in 2019 and now tells seasonal stories kind of like American Horror Story. And today we're looking at the 6th episode of the 3rd season, The Tale of the Bookish Babysitter. Surprisingly, this is one of 6 episodes where the characters don't come back for another episode, but the episode itself does make an appearance in a music video commercial made for Nickelodeon called Feel the Fear, with a ton of other episodes. It's honestly the most 90s song I've ever heard in my life, and it would actually make a pretty good Halloween song. Anyways, that's enough yapping. Let's get into the episode. This one starts with the Midnight Society, of course. Frank is tending to the fire when his crush Sam comes around with some extra logs. Frank tries to be nice and help her, but he does it in the wrong way.
Babe, they're way too heavy for you.
They're not.
They are.
Fellas, if you want to help a girl out with something, don't start your sentence with, "Let me help you, babe." That'll never end well. "Oh, are those logs too heavy for you, babe? Let my big man muscles help you, babe." You see how douchey that sounds? And since Frank wants to help so bad, she decides to let him by dropping the logs on his feet. Oh. Told you it never ends well. Finally, Gary and Tucker come around and they can start their meeting. It's Betty Ann's turn tonight, and she decides to tell a story about stories. She tells the group that you can tell stories about monsters, ghosts, and demons, but the only reason those stories are scary is because of your imagination.
If you're really into a story, you become part of it.
You start to wonder what you would do if you became face to face with the monster in the story. And if one day you magically get trapped inside the story, you might need to use your imagination to get out. So throw the probably toxic chemicals onto the fire and let's begin. We start this episode by meeting Belinda. She's a babysitter for kids who don't like babysitters. And after she babysits any kid, they magically flip their stance on babysitters. Except for this kid. This kid looks like he's terrified. After she books her next babysitting gig with this family, she accidentally drops her book of pain and suffering. Are we sure she didn't trap the kids in that book? There was a lot of screaming going on. Then we cut to our main character, Ricky Winter. He is a lazy, rude kid that doesn't want to do anything but sit in front of a TV and rot away watching movies. Kind of sounds like me when I was younger. Except for the rude part, I think. I hope. His mom is a real estate agent, and she has to leave to sell a house that she calls the Talbot Place, which might be a nod to the old Wolfman movies because the main character was named Larry Talbot. There's actually a new Wolfman movie coming out in like less than 10 days when this video is released. Pretty excited to see that one. Since she'll be leaving Ricky alone for a couple of hours, the mom hires Belinda to come babysit him, which Ricky isn't so happy about.
A babysitter? Mom, I'm 12 years old.
Yeah, just give him some pizza money and let him stay up watching 1932's The White Zombie featuring Bela Lugosi, which is actually on the TV. That's not a lie. I thought it was Dracula at first, so I'm glad I fact-checked myself before I put it online. Would have been embarrassing. Luckily, Belinda gets there just in time for Ricky's mom to leave. But I don't think Ricky's mom has ever seen a goth girl before because she has quite a strange reaction to Belinda.
Wasn't expecting someone so what? So what is your secret?
No, don't change the subject. What were you gonna say? She asked Belinda what is her secret to making kids like her, and she just says,
I have imagination.
Which is good because she gives Belinda the impossible task of prying Ricky away from the TV. That's not gonna be easy. But Belinda isn't worried because she brought some books to read.
Good luck.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. After Miss Winter leaves, Belinda tries her best to get to know Ricky a little bit. But she's of course just met with a bunch of sass. Probably because she's blocking the TV. No, I gotta side with Ricky on this one. That's annoying as shit. Since she won't be able to pry him from the TV the easy way, she's gonna have to do it the hard way.
And by that, I mean she steals the remote and turns the TV off. And she makes it disappear with a cool magic trick. And she tells him if he reads a book for just 5 minutes, then she will leave him alone for the rest of the night. Easy peasy! So he picks up a book and starts reading. As he begins reading, the lights around them start to flicker. And as he mentions somebody coming towards the door in the story, they hear in real life. Sadly, that story didn't tickle Ricky's fancy.
You only read one sentence.
Hey, sometimes that's all you need. She tells Ricky that he has to actually try to read the story before he gives up on it, and that he needs to use his imagination to be a part of the story. So Ricky picks up a book called The King's Sword, and the hooligan starts reading from the middle of the book. Who does that? He begins reading the book, and it starts talking about roaming around an empty, creepy castle. And as he's reading that, a hand starts reaching out for him from behind him.
This one's lousy too.
Okay, bro, maybe you should try reading more than one sentence. He claims this one is lame because it has too many words. Yeah, no shit. Belinda warns Ricky and says that once he starts a book, he really should finish it. So he tries to read this one book that has no name, but Belinda stops him and tells him that he's not ready for that book. He's at a 6th grade level right now. He's probably lower. He's probably like a 2nd grade level right now. This is a 12th grade level book. Remember when they used to do that in like elementary school? You can't read that one. That's a 6th grade level book. And this pisses Ricky off, so he just gets mad, gets up, and goes to his room, ignoring Belinda's warnings that he really shouldn't do that. And on his way to his room, you can see a mysterious figure stalking him from behind. And once he hops on his bed and gets comfy playing his Game Boy, he gets a visit from a knight? Holy shit. The knight tries to kill Ricky, but luckily he gets away just in time. He escapes to the hallway where he's met face to face with an honestly very creepy ghost. The ghost slowly floats towards him, reaching out as if to grab him, which makes Ricky panic so bad that he runs back into the living room with Belinda, where Belinda already knows what's happening to him, and she tells him not to worry, it's just his imagination, and they can make all the monsters go away by just simply burning the pages to the book. And as they do that, Belinda bangs on the door and warns Ricky not to listen to the other her. Wait, if that's the real Belinda, then who is this?
Use your imagination back!
The two escape to the kitchen and they use the kitchen island to block off the monsters. Belinda tells Ricky that he's now a part of the stories and he has to use his imagination to get out of it. And this is when we find out that Ricky has a horrible imagination.
Weird stuff happened, then it went away, and they lived happily ever after the end.
Really, dude? Of course that doesn't work and the monsters are still trying to beat the doors down. But what really sucks for Ricky is that he began to read 2 stories. And now he has to find a way to conclude both of them and make it make sense. Just then, the ugly Belinda witch breaks in, so they once again escape, this time to the basement, where Ricky's imagination is starting to get a little bit better.
They ran down to the basement where he kept his Uzi.
Yeah, now you're thinking. Where's the Uzi?
Afraid not.
Aw, thought he was gonna turn into a badass. Belinda tells Ricky that the story has to make sense for it to move on. Ironic because this episode doesn't really make sense right now. But Ricky thinks that the end of the story is in the red book that she's keeping away from him. So he convinces her to give the book to him, and as he flips through the pages, he sees that they're all empty. And he somehow got teleported into a castle. What's going on? This is when Ricky notices that whatever he does magically gets written into the book. Because like Belinda has been saying, this is his story. And as he reads his story, he hears a clanking sound slowly getting closer to him. Looks like the knight is back for round 2, and this time he's not messing around. He chases Ricky down, swinging the sword at him any chance he gets. Except for this one. He could have totally stabbed him right there. Ricky reads that he has to wait for his sign to defeat the knight. And what is that sign, you might be asking yourself?
What's the sign?
Give me a second, I'm about to tell you. The sign is the jewels on the sword match the jewels on the sword on his t-shirt. Yeah, I don't get it either, but it worked. But with the knight out of the way, now he has to deal with this poor little girl that's lost inside the castle. But Ricky isn't concerned, and he says the most Ricky thing ever.
Hey, look, if I knew how to get out of here, I'd tell you.
Damn, dude, you really have to work on being nicer to people. Ricky reads on a little bit, and he discovers that the little girl actually doesn't belong in this story. Like maybe she came from a different story.
You're the...
Put down the book!
The witch has found her way into his story. And just before she could do literally anything, he picks up the knight's sword and slashes her stomach, turning the evil witch into a slimy green goo. I was honestly way too easy. I thought the witch would be a lot harder to defeat than that. Now that the witch is out of the way, there's only one monster left that he has to deal with. The ghost. But luckily for Ricky, him defeating the witch actually released a curse that was on the ghost, so now he can rest in peace. That was easier than I thought it would be as well. Wow, Ricky really got it easy in this episode. But the real question is, did all of this actually happen, or was it just Ricky's imagination? Ricky grabs the book from Belinda, and he reads of how Ricky himself will never limit his imagination again. And he finishes the story just in time for his mom to come home. And the once blank book now has a title that reads The Dark Tomb by Ricky Winters. And Belinda takes her book back, telling Ricky,
"It's just a story, Ricky."
And later on, we hear that Ricky went to the library to try to find the author of the book, but he could not find one, nor could he find the other books that she brought. That is because they were one of ones, the kids' stories. And that's where the story ends, but we fade back into the Midnight Society. Before they end off their meeting, Tucker rips the book out of Betty Ann's hands to read it for himself, but he turns to a page of the book that is detailing exactly what's going on right now.
Hey, gotcha.
But it was just a prank. How did she know that he would turn to that page? And look at that specific paragraph. Is Betty Ann a witch? Side note, I actually noticed while I was making the script for this episode that Tucker is in Mean Girls. He's Gretchen Winter's like boyfriend. I just noticed that. I don't know why it took me so long to notice that. And that's the end of the episode. It was a really good episode, honestly. It's got its darker moments that keep you like creeped out, but it's also got some pretty wacky, goofy moments like a witch melting into green goo. And I'm surprised this episode isn't talked about a lot more. It's really enjoyable. I really liked it. It does have some pretty creepy character designs as well. I know that ghost would have been in my nightmares if I was a child and I saw this. He might still be in my nightmares tonight, actually. The witch is also creepy-ish, but she kind of looks more goofy than creepy to me. I think this is a great episode that has a good message for kids to turn off the TV every once in a while and pick up a book and exercise their imagination. There's a huge lack of that, especially nowadays. And I also feel like this episode is better than the Phantom Cab, so I'm kind of glad I scammed you guys out of that episode. But I know why you guys like the Phantom Cab. It's the first appearance of Dr. Vink, but I honestly just might make a video with all the Dr. Vink episodes. Tell the Dr. Vink story. There's only 4 or so. But let me know what you think about this episode in the comments below. I have a Patreon. The $5 members get bonus content plus videos a day early, maybe some pictures of my cats. Also your name right here on screen. I'm also lumping in YouTube members with that now. So yes, YouTube members get everything Patreon members get. I do want to shout out some longtime Patreon supporters, Critter Morrison, Choco Me Pingu, and Kevin Schmelzen, as well as some newer YouTube members, Colby Schnell, Jerry Can, and Aaron Wilson. Thank you guys for supporting me directly. So yeah, that's all I have for you today. Like the video if you liked the video. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace. Sorry guys, I've been out of it for a few days. I had a strange dream the other day where these weird dudes picked me up, lifted me in the air, strapped me to a table, and then used a very large needle and shoved it right up. It was just a weird dream. Hi everybody, my name's Kingnusmi. Are You Afraid of the Dark is one of the most iconic horror shows of all time. Even though it hasn't been on TV since the early 2000s, it's still got a very loyal audience. And it lasted from 1992 all the way to 2000s with 7 seasons and 92 episodes in total. With all those episodes, there is destined to be a couple that overlap in some way. Whether it's certain monsters like vampires, ghosts, clowns, shapeshifters, and like today's episode, aliens. The show follows a group of kids that call themselves the Midnight Society. They take turns telling each other scary stories around a campfire, and we watch the stories that they tell. Throughout the years, the kids would get rotated out to keep things fresh and new. They even revived the show in 2019 to some pretty high praise, and that show now has 3 seasons, but there is no news about a 4th season just yet. Hopefully I could talk about the revival season soon. That'd be kind of fun. Aliens show up more often than you'd think in Are You Afraid of the Dark? The show has 4 episodes that involve aliens, which is more than I expected, actually. And they're all different aliens, but terrifying in their own ways. And those episodes are The Tale of the 13th Floor, The Tale of the Hatching, The Tale of the Unexpected Visitor, and The Tale of the Lunar Locusts. Today we're going to look into and break down each episode to find out which episode is the best out of them, and if Are You Afraid of the Dark can do sci-fi horror well. So let's quit yapping and get into the video. We jump over to season 2 for the 4th episode, The Tale of the 13th Floor. One of the most stylized and colorful episodes of the series for sure. And it's Are You Afraid of the Dark's first attempt at an alien-based episode. It's directed by Michael Kush, who only would come back to direct one more episode, The Tale of Quicksilver. And it was written by Ann Appleton and show creator DJ McHale. Ann wrote a couple of episodes in season 1, but this episode was sadly her last script.
ever. She literally has just these 3 episodes on her IMDb. I hope she didn't like pass away or anything. That would be very depressing. I probably should have looked that up. This episode has been recommended to me a couple of times, with a couple of the comments saying it's one of the best twists in an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode. And that makes me excited to check it out. So let's quit yapping and get into it. We start this episode with the Midnight Society, of course, as they're being hunted down by an unknown figure in the woods. But nothing gets past Frank because his spidey senses start tingling.
You ever get the feeling you're being watched?
The figure shines the group with a bright light, and it turns out that it's not just one, but 3 of them. And it's totally not their friends Betty Ann, David, and Kristen. They do look spookier than normal, though. Kristen asks the others, "You see us every week, but do you really know us? Do you actually know anyone?"
Are we having a story tonight, or are we just playing games?
Well, damn, Gary, way to ruin the fun. Betty Ann is taking the helm for this story, and she starts her story by saying, "You see them every day, but you never take time to look. But if you did,
you might find that the scariest strangers are the ones inside ourselves."
Now, throw the polytoxic chemicals into the fire, and let's begin. We start the story in an abandoned-looking room that we learned is the 13th floor of a building and the playroom for our main characters, Karen and Billy. Karen is played by Trish Lindstrom, and she sadly isn't in anything of note, but Billy is played by Aaron Ashmore, who's in another episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, which we will be talking about here real soon. Just be patient with me. But he's still pretty famous, but sadly he's not as famous as his brother Sean Ashmore, who is Iceman in the X-Men movies, and also Jake in the Animorphs show. Although Aaron would sometimes double for him in the Animorphs show, so technically he's there as well. Luckily for the kids, the kind doorman Gus lets the kids up to the 13th floor to hang out and play. But he does warn them to be careful because the last tenants mysteriously disappeared up there. Although he does let them play up there, he really doesn't like them being on the 13th floor.
Makes me uneasy.
The kids brush off Gus as being old and superstitious and immediately start playing floor hockey, which Billy is very good at, but Karen, not so much.
Slap shot.
Oh, that's painful to watch. Okay. Karen isn't very athletic. Not in the slightest. Karen thinks that she's not as athletic as her brother because she's actually adopted. And if she were related to him by blood, then maybe she'd have an ounce of athleticism in her. But Billy tells her that she can't keep using her being an adopted as an excuse for when something is difficult for her to grasp.
Why not? It's very convenient.
Suddenly, strange lights start shining through the windows of the 13th floor, and the whole building begins to shake uncontrollably. And Billy makes a quick and smart decision and decides to get the heck out of Dodge. I don't think you should be taking the elevator during an earthquake, though. Actually, I think that's the last place you want to be. Luckily, the weird shaking stops just in time for the elevator to get there, and we meet... Oh God, what happened to Bro's hair? Bro got in the barber shop and said, "Yo, give me the space mullet with a side of Lord Farquaad." What is he thinking? The mysterious dude in the elevator is Lenoid, and he's taking over for Gus because he had a family emergency. Okay, yeah, sure. But Billy doesn't mess with strangers, so he decides that him and his sister should take the stairs. Oh, so now you take the stairs. Yeah, no, not when the earth is shaking beneath you. Okay. Question the decisions of kids sometimes. That night while she's asleep, Karen's TV mysteriously turns on its own, and it gives Karen a message. A man appears on the TV and tells her that he's come to visit her, and then just disappears back into the void. That was weird. The next day, the kids head up to the 13th floor to play, but the new elevator guy informs them that there are new tenants that are going to live there, and they're going to be fumigating the floor before they remodel it. And later that day, they are coming back home from riding bikes and hanging out with their friends, and they check the mail to see that Karen has a letter. It's an invitation from a toy company that is now on the 13th floor of the building. They want her to come test some toys and sports equipment for them, and she can come anytime the next day. But since Karen really isn't good at sports, she decides that she doesn't want to go. Luckily for her, Billy is a good brother and actually convinces her to go just in case she has some fun, and they give away some free stuff. That night, Karen gets yet another visit from the TV man. She tries to turn the TV off multiple times, but she can't seem to do it. The man tells her that he would love to see her tomorrow to test some toys because she's a very special person, and he basically begs her to come.
Say you'll come.
Okay, yeah.
Oh wow, that was really easy. He really didn't have to beg at all. So the next day, she does exactly that, but only if her brother Billy gets to come along, which he agrees to easily because, well, of course, who wouldn't want to just play with toys all day? I would. They make it to the newly refurbished 13th floor, and it looks insane. It is very colorful and vibrant with toys littered everywhere and a mobile dice block. Okay then. They're greeted by a woman named Olga. She greets Karen alone and tries to nicely kick Billy out.
Nice of you to bring Karen here, Billy. We won't be needing you.
That's insane. That's absolutely crazy. Oh, nice to meet you. Okay, I'll see ya. Like, what the hell? Olga is played by Susan Glover, and she was actually in the episode The Tale of Train Magic. Karen tells Olga that she is not going to be doing the tests if her brother Billy can't come with. And if he has to leave, so will she. Wow, what great siblings. Why couldn't you be this nice, Sam? Doesn't seem that hard. Since Olga's hands seem to be tied, she allows Billy to join his sister for the day, and she guides them into the next room that is full of toys and this strange table with some buttons on it. This is where we meet Raymond, but you might recognize him as the man on the TV. Raymond is played by Pierre LeBlanc, and he's also in the episode The Tale of the Unexpected Visitor, which is what we're going to be talking about here in like 10, maybe 15 minutes, I don't know. Raymond doesn't seem pleased with Billy joining in for the test, but he reluctantly lets him in anyways. He brings the kids over to the table and gives them their first tests. They're going to play a sequence of notes, and the kids just have to copy it. Very simple, honestly. But it's a race to see who is better coordinated and will help them in their toy making process. And with wasting no time, they get to business. Obviously, Billy beats Karen the first couple of times with ease, but as they crank up the difficulty, Karen starts winning with ease. And then again. And since it seems like Karen has gotten the hang of the test, so they move Karen on to the next test and they leave Billy on the note table to try and hopefully catch up. Next we cut to Lenoid, and he asks Olga if Karen will be ready for something we don't know about. And Olga assures him that Karen will be ready before they have to leave at 6 o'clock tonight. The next test involves Karen being strapped down to a chair, and all she has to do is move this ball with her mind. Bro, you really think after one Simon Says light game, she'll be able to suddenly move things with... Oh my god, she's moving it with her mind. I can't believe she actually did that. I'm gonna play Simon Says. Shit. Hold on, this thing has Flappy Bird? Oh shit, it has Flappy Bird. What the fuck? What kind of Flappy Bird is that? Oh, I'm gonna try it. You're getting so sidetracked. Oh god. How am I? Oh god, I suck. Hold on. Okay, that is literally impossible. She can even shoot it in a basketball hoop. Talk about dunking on Billy. Oh man, Billy doesn't look too good. After she successfully moves the ball with her mind, Raymond informs her that she's able to now take a little trip with them into space. And every time they turn this dial, it gets closer to simulating the atmospheric pressure of a place he calls home. Sadly, Billy won't be able to join them on the spaceship because he simply just can't handle the intense pressure on his body. And since she now knows the truth, Raymond decides to show her his true form.
Ah, that's better.
And since she's ready for space travel and already strapped down to a chair, Raymond opens a hatch in the roof of the building to reveal multiple faceless aliens reaching for her, lifting her chair up to take her with them. She's helpless and can't do anything, and Billy can't help because... well, he's passed out on the table. But luckily, Karen is pretty smart, and she uses her newly acquired powers to turn off the machines, shut the hatch, unlock herself from the chair, and she can also freeze Raymond in place? They didn't mention how she could do that. Okay, upon further inspection, she just kicks Raymond in the face, and he just freezes in place like this. Not sure why. Maybe it's a defense technique. Anyway, she thanks Raymond for her new powers, and she tries to help Billy, but he simply can't bear the pressure and is knocked out cold. But she promises she'll be back to save him, and then she goes and hides in the vents. Just in time, because Olga comes in to unfreeze Raymond, and in a panic, tells Raymond to start looking for Karen because they must leave soon. But before she leaves, she must inform us how much she actually hates human children.
Such poor specimens, these Earth children.
That's a little evil of her, no? Sadly for Karen, I think Raymond can see through walls because he finds her immediately. He corners her in a maze of colorful yet disorienting walls, but Raymond seems to have forgotten that Karen is pretty resourceful, and she drops these sharp roof things on top of him and makes her escape.
All that fuss, just to end up back here.
Karen quickly grabs this remote and freezes Raymond in place once again, and she turns the dial down so it makes it easier for her to wake up Billy, but once again Olga comes in at the worst time and finds Raymond frozen in place. Luckily for Karen, she has a remote that controls Raymond, and she can... never mind. Raymond is actually a robot. Suddenly it makes sense why he freezes when he got kicked in the head. Karen tries to make an escape using the elevator, but of course she is greeted by Lenoid. She tries to use the remote to make him freeze, but this guy is 100% organic material. He tries to reason with Karen and tells her that this is her destiny, that she needs to expand her horizons and go back to her home planet. And Lenoid is a persuasive guy, and she reluctantly agrees to go home with him.
That is until she sees his alien hands, which kind of wakes her up and makes her realize that she needs to save her brother Billy and that Earth is her actual home. She was raised here and she knows nothing else. Karen runs down the halls, banging on all the doors and asking anybody for help, but when nobody comes out to help, she takes matters into her own hands. She finds a verbal command option on the remote and knows exactly what to do with it. She heads back to the floor knowing that Raymond would find her there. She quickly grabs Billy and then uses the voice command to make Raymond hold Olga so they can make their escape, which he happily does, and I mean very happily does. I think he was just waiting on his chance to make a move. Although I don't think this is the move you want to make. She almost makes it out successfully, but Lenoid stops her for one last Hail Mary attempt to get her on the ship. He tells her all these amazing things that she can do if she just came along with them. She would be able to fly, to go to other planets, and the planet itself is beautiful. But Karen isn't willing to risk her brother's life just to go to a planet because it's her so-called home. And Lenoid doesn't stop her from leaving, but he does tell her that she's making a grave mistake. Then we cut back to the siblings who are finally back in their room as the spaceship takes off. And before they're out of orbit, Olga appears on the TV to tell Karen what is really going on. They accidentally left her on Earth 10 years earlier, and they were going to try and get her into the spaceship and into space before they explained anything to her. But they don't have enough atmosphere to stay on Earth any longer, and it'll be another 10 years before they can return for her again. Billy is having a hard time understanding what's going on, and what he sees next doesn't help him at all.
See you in 10 years.
And that's where the story ends, but we fade back into the Midnight Society where Betty Ann finishes her story by saying, "You think you may know someone,
But think again and look a little closer."
And they close out the meeting and end the episode. Honestly, it's a really great episode. It's got its wackier moments in it for sure. And like I said earlier, it is super stylized. It kind of looks like a futuristic Fisher-Price factory to me. And I do think the aliens in this episode look really good. I know I'm going to get like a million comments saying, the aliens look like Slender Man's cousin or something like that. And I agree with you, they do. But at least they went for a unique alien design and not the typical big-eyed green aliens that you see literally everywhere. I also think the reveal at the end of the episode was amazing. Of course, we already know that Karen is an alien, so we would figure that she would look like her alien brethren, but seeing our protagonist with the horrifying emotionless face is just so unnerving, and honestly, it sticks with you for a long time. I also love that the episode takes place on the 13th floor. If you don't know, 13 is considered an unlucky number because, well, the Bible. Judas was the 13th guest at the Last Supper, and we all know what happened with Judas and Jesus. And this has caused people to be weary of the number 13, so much that buildings often don't have a 13th floor just to not upset certain guests. But like, even if you label it the 14th floor, you're still on the 13th floor, so I've never really understood why they do that. But sometimes buildings even leave the 13th floor for the staff and utilities so no guests feel uncomfortable for staying on the floor. And yes, this is true. People are actually like this. And because of this belief, people claim that the 13th floor is often haunted or just weird things seem to happen on that floor. So the vibes around the eerie floor is a great place to set an episode about kids being abducted by aliens. While I do like this episode and the alien design, it's honestly a little forgettable in my opinion. It's got everything it needs to be an iconic episode. Cool monsters, a likable main character, somewhat interesting story, and a great twist ending. But there's something about it that doesn't let it stick around like Deadman's Float or the Ghastly Grinner. Maybe it's like the atmosphere of the episode. I mean, the rooms are quite colorful and bright, which can be scary if done right, but it looks like they just missed the mark somewhere in there. I don't know. Let me know what you think about this episode in the comments below. And before we move on, I forgot to mention that Johnny Keyworth, the guy who played Gus, he's also in another episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? The Tale of the Nightly Neighbors as Mr. Mitchell. Okay, let's move on to... Just a couple of episodes after the 13th floor in season 2, we get The Tale of the Hatching. It's the 12th episode of the second season and was written and directed by the creator of the show, DJ McHale. So you know it's gonna be a banger. He wrote this episode because he saw an old water purification plant and he thought that it looked interesting and creepy, so obviously he wrote an episode for it and then filmed it there. That's absolutely crazy. I wish I could do something like that. You know how many abandoned buildings and stuff I see, and I'm like, it would be awesome if they put a horror movie in that building. I guess it could. I could just get like access to the building and then a crew and then money. But this episode is pretty well liked because of the super eerie atmosphere, the creepy visuals, and the creature effects. But I'll be the judge of whether this episode is good or not, so let's quit yapping and get into it. We start this episode with our group of scary storytelling fiends as Dave lights the fire for them, which is apparently not usual because everyone starts questioning why he is doing this. Everyone but Kristen, who asks him if he's okay rather than pick on him.
What's the matter? Poor Davy upset about something?
Man, Frank is the worst. Why is he so mean? Kristen tells everybody that he had to move to a new town and he's starting to go to a new school, and he seems to be having a hard time with the move. It really sucks for him, but at least he thought up a pretty good story because of it. And then he pretty much explains what the story is about, which is what I'm about to do as well. So throw the polytoxic chemicals into the fire and let's begin. We start this story by seeing a cute little poodle. Aw, I hope nothing comes out of the sewer and like eats it or something. Oh, come on! Next, we meet our main characters, Augie and Jazz, and their parents. Their parents are going on a long business trip, so they enrolled them in the Black Book School, which is supposedly one of the best boarding schools in the area. Even though the school looks incredible, the kids aren't too excited about having to go there. And Jazz is confused on why they can't just go with their parents. But of course, their parents want their kids to have a good education, and
it's a very well-known, highly respected...
Well, that's not promising. It's all good. It was just this girl who is sick and having a fever nightmare.
In the day?
Yeah, you can have nightmares during the day. You can have them at any time, you know. I've had them during the day before. Luckily, the principals, Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, also heard her scream and quickly guide the girl Marie to the infirmary. This also gives the Taylors time to introduce themselves to their new students and to get started on their orientation. But before that, let's talk about the actors in this episode real quick. Liz McRae, who plays their mom, Miss Wilson, in this episode, is also in the episodes The Tale of the Fire Ghost and The Tale of Bigfoot Ridge. Mr. Taylor's actor, Philip Spinsley, is actually in the 3-part revival episode The Tale of the Silver Sight as Vince. And Jazz is played by Heather Brown, and she was in a Goosebumps episode. She was Lizzie in One Day at Horrorland. And the actor who plays Augie, Ilya Woloshin, he was in an episode of Friday the 13th, the series. He was also in a pretty insane show called The Odyssey, where a boy gets in an accident, falls into a coma, and then starts having some rather interesting dreams. Pretty crazy show, you should check it out. While they're getting acquainted, they hear a strange noise coming from the intercom.
To the learning process.
What's with the buzzing?
Mr. Taylor tells them that it's pretty much their school bell, but it's a soother tone than a regular school bell, and it plays different tones for when they wake up, when class is beginning and ending, and for lunch. Wow, what a fancy fucking school. My school's fire alarm was broken, and it went off 7 times in 1 week. I'm not joking either. It was pretty funny the first couple of times it happened, but it got old really, really quick. As Mr. Taylor is talking, Augie's watch starts to beep, which makes Mr. Taylor absolutely freak out, like screaming and cowering in a corner. It wasn't even that bad. Or loud.
Forgive me, I've been having migraines.
Oh yeah, because every time I get a migraine, I just have to. Oh God, it hurts! Why? Next, we fade later in the day, and the siblings are walking down the hallway and having a little chat. Jazz finds it weird how Mr. Taylor absolutely freaked out at his watch, but Augie tries to give the man the benefit of the doubt and says that it was probably just a headache.
Headache? I thought his brain was gonna explode.
Right? It's weird. He acted like Professor X blasted him with the Holocaust beam or something. But the real reason she's causing all this ruckus is because she really doesn't want to go to the school, and she's just looking for any excuse to get out. Thankfully, Augie is a good brother, and he tells her that they'll be okay. It's only for 6 months, and then they get to go back to their old school and be back home with their mom and dad.
Yeah, well, I'm not wearing one of those lame one uniforms. That's official.
How'd that work out for you? They say goodbye to their parents, and they are ready and excited for their new start.
I'm really depressed.
Okay, I might have exaggerated the excited part. But wait, their parents just left? Where were they in the last scene? Were they just wandering around the school for no reason? Why? Anyways, the bell chimes for all the students to go eat some dinner. While at the table, the kids are passing around this bowl full of white gelatinous muck. And when it gets to Jazz and Augie, they're of course weary of the dish. And they ask, what is it exactly?
Sponge.
Sponge?
Sponge.
Like SpongeBob?
No, sponge with a U.
Oh, sponge with a U. Of course, I got you now. Yes. No, I don't. What the hell is that? Is it a British cuisine? They love throwing U's in places they don't belong anyways. And it does kind of look like British food. The kid named Kit tries his best to get the two to try the sponge. He tells them that it's really good and they have to at least try it before they give it up. But of course they pass on the sponge, and I don't blame them. And just in time too, because the sleep bell rings and everybody rushes out of the lunchroom. Hey, stop that! At least use a spoon, man! By the way, their friend Kit, he is played by Justin Borntager, and he was also in the episode The Tale of the Quiet Librarian. Since everybody around them seems to be enjoying themselves, they decide to try and relax and give the place a chance, despite the pretty strange rules the school has. Like this poor kid Willie got his thing taken. What is that? I think it's a handheld game console, but it looks massive. Either Willie is tiny or that is the biggest Game Boy I've ever seen in my life. Either way, Mr. Taylor has another strange reaction to the noises coming from the Game Boy and takes it from poor Willie. And you don't really get a good look at his face, but Willie is played by Kenny Vadas, and he was Dwayne in the Goosebumps episode, The Headless Ghost. And later that night before going to bed, Augie was going to listen to some tunes, but luckily Kit was there to warn him that music is strictly forbidden on school grounds. And if he wants to keep his music player, he's gonna have to keep it on the down low. And after a couple of weeks, they got acquainted with the rules and they start to actually fit into school a little bit. They still don't eat the sponge though. Probably for the best. But one night, in the middle of the night, the bell rings and every kid, without saying a word, gets out of bed, gets in a single file line, and starts marching down the halls. Jazz finds Augie in the hall and he is equally as confused as she is, but they decide to just simply follow them to see what is going on. They walk down into a creepy hallway lined with strange machines, and some students walk to the machines while the others climb down these ladders into a pool of water filled with these giant alien eggs. Oh god, there's gonna be an egg pun in here soon, isn't there? Oh no. Jazz tries to wake their friend Kit up from his trance, but nothing seems to work. So she climbs down to see all the kids pouring some kind of powder in the water over the eggs. And the two pick up one of the eggs to examine it, and that's when Mr. and Mrs. Taylor appear.
Excellent!
I knew it! I called it! I told you there was going to be an egg pun in here. To blend in, the two quickly grab some spoons and start pouring the powder over the eggs just like their brainwashed peers, which works beautifully. The Taylors are none the wiser and actually reveal that the sponge is how they take over the kids' minds. So it was a good idea to not eat that shit. And since everything looks good to them, the Taylors leave the pool area with Jazz and Augie sneakily following them.
Let's just call the police, okay?
I think that's a great plan, Augie. But you're not gonna do it. They never call the police in these shows. They watch as the Taylors open a giant cabinet and feast on the powder. They talk about their master and how she is pleased and patiently waiting for all her eggs to hatch, which is going to be very, very soon. And then Mr. Taylor accidentally reveals part of his true form. Ew! I know to him it's like a glove, but it looks like he's scratching underneath his skin. Oh god, that's gross. And as he's grossing me out with his excessive scratching, Miss Taylor pours them both a glass of some Nickelodeon slime or something as they toast to their master, and they suck the viscous liquid down. The kids quickly run into a faraway room and try to make a plan so that they can escape. But Augie is too much of a weenie and doesn't want to do it. But we don't have time for him to be a big baby, and Jazz knows this, so she literally grabs him by the collar and tells him to get a grip.
Get a grip!
And her doing this actually gives Augie an idea. They split up to gather some essential things and then try to meet back up. Augie finishes first and knocks on her dorm door to tell her his plan, but Miss Taylor comes out holding Jazz hostage. Augie gets so scared he freezes up and he can't say anything but,
"You're a monster."
Well, yeah, no shit, dude. He was scratching underneath his skin. How? Luckily, Jazz is a bit of a delinquent and she bites Miss Taylor so hard that she lets go. Oh my god, how hard did she bite her? That's insane. Is the skin like rubber? If it's rubber, that's insane. They try to make an escape, but of course they are stopped by
You can't leave now.
Mr. Taylor, who chases them all the way down into the basement into some eerie tunnels, lined with kids' shoes. My guess is this isn't the first time somebody used this method for escaping, and it also didn't work out for them, so I don't know how good of a plan this is. And while they're walking down the tunnel, they hear a creepy growling coming from deep within the tunnel. And even worse, the Taylors have trapped them in with whatever's hiding in the tunnel. They tell the kids that their species nearly went extinct, and they've been incubating these eggs for over 100 years. And once all the eggs hatch, they can take over the world. And to add some evilness to them, they used child labor to help incubate the eggs. How awesome is that? And not only did they make kids work against their will,
once the eggs are hatched, the children will serve another purpose.
Yeah, they're going to eat the kids. This episode's insane. While the Taylors are yapping over here, the growling behind the kids gets louder and more earth rumbling until a glowing green light and smoke stalks them from behind. And it is revealed that they are trapped in with the mother alien. And she hasn't eaten in a long time. As the mother alien slowly crawls towards them, Augie decides to finally put his plan in motion. He hands Jazz a speaker and starts to hook up his radio that he's been hiding for months. The Taylors try so hard to break in and stop them, but they aren't quick enough. Augie blasts the music in the tunnel, making the Taylors and the mother aliens cry in agony until they explode. Man, these shows really love exploding their monsters. It's insane. Hey, the kids might be covered in gross green alien blood, but at least they're safe. And the Taylors won't be bothering anybody anymore. Luckily, Augie noticed that anytime they heard a high-frequency noise, they would kind of freak out. So he figured maybe the high-frequency noise was their weakness.
I may be a chicken, but I'm smart.
Heck yeah, you are, Augie. After the aliens explode, all the kids are awakened out of their trance-like state, and they discover that since the mother alien died, all the eggs have died as well. Well, maybe not all of the eggs. And we fade back into the Midnight Society where they end the meeting with Gary warning them to go straight home.
Because tonight's a school night.
Oh, Gary's got jokes now. Okay. And that's where the episode ends. What an absolutely insane episode, honestly. I've heard that this episode is really good, but I never really believed anyone because, like, come on, how scary can an episode about alien eggs be? No, I took that L. I'm gonna take this. I'll put it in my pocket. I'll hold on to it, actually. This episode is actually incredible. The storytelling is really good. I can't believe DJ McHale saw an abandoned water treatment facility and then cooked up this banger immediately. He's insane for that. But very rarely does he miss with his episodes. I mean, he directed one of my favorite episodes, so what can I say? This man just knows how to make a school scary. He's the GOAT at it. Speaking of that, I absolutely love how eerie this episode is throughout the whole runtime. Even before any of the creepy stuff really happens, things just feel off within the school. I mean, the building is almost castle-like and super old, which definitely helps the eerie factor. And the first thing that happens to them in the school is they find a girl screaming from a night terror or day terror, whatever you want to call it. Which, by the way, was probably her remembering the last time she was forced to feed the eggs. They kind of hint at it towards the end of the episode where she thinks she's having another nightmare, but she's actually just waking up from her trance.
This is like a dream. It is. And you're not gonna have nightmares anymore.
Also, Mr. and Mrs. Taylor feel off immediately to me, despite them trying to put on a nice face for the family. And even before the strange watch moment in the office, I did not trust the two of them. And it was genius for them to hint on how to defeat the aliens so early in the episode as well. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I really enjoyed this episode. The practical effects in it were also amazing. I mean, I honestly got grossed out both times they showed their true form to us. But I do have to gripe about their queen, though. She didn't look as scary as I hoped she would look. I mean, she's crawling on the ground like a worm, and she looks like a rejected horror from Horrorland. It's just kind of not working for me. I will say this episode is definitely way better than the last one. It had everything the last episode had, but actually stuck the landing and made a really scary and memorable episode. So, massive applause to them. Hopefully they keep this trend going in. Next, we jump all the way to Season 5 for the 9th episode of the season, The Tale of the Unexpected Visitor. No, wait, it's the 10th episode. No, maybe it's the 13th episode. Wait, no. Paramount Plus is always wrong. They are always wrong. Okay, it's in Season 5, okay? That's all you need to know. God, I hate the internet sometimes. Okay, so it's the 62nd episode. So that means it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 59, 60, 61, 62. Aha! There you go. We have it. Season 5, episode 10. There. Solved it. The Tale of the Unexpected Visitor was directed by a name I am about to absolutely butcher. Jacques Leber? Yeah. He was the director for most of the Midnight Society scenes in the first few seasons, but this is his first time actually taking the director chair, which is pretty cool. And the episode was directed by Alan Kingsburg, who also wrote The Tale of Prisoners Past, Jake the Snake, The Photo Finish, and The Many Faces. All really good episodes in my opinion. And surprisingly, this episode has never been recommended to me, which is strange. So I'm kind of interested why. So let's quit yapping and get into it. We start this episode just like the others, but this time we can see Kiki is snoozing by the fire. And with Stig and Tucker being the hellions that they are, they're gonna dip her hand in some warm water.
Don't even think about it.
Thank God Gary's a good guy. But I think they would have been caught anyways because Kiki wakes up literally immediately after they try. She says that she is so sleepy because her aunt is in town.
Uh-oh. The snoring machine.
And luckily, Stig has the perfect solution to solve her aunt's snoring problem. Just stick some cotton balls up her nose, then she'll stop snoring.
Or make her head explode.
Oh, come on, that's not true. That's not true, right? But because of her aunt's visit, Kiki actually thought up a story to tell. She starts the story by saying, "It's fun having visitors, but when you invite someone over, you better know what you're getting yourself into."
But there's another kind of guest. The kind that comes by surprise.
This kind of sounds like a home invasion story rather than a alien story to me. But now it's time to throw the polytoxic chemicals into the fire and let's begin. We start this episode by meeting our main characters, Jeff and Perch. They're trying to make a song together, but they have different visions of what they want for their band. You see, Perch wants them to be in a rock band, but Jeff was thinking more of an,
elevator tunes?
Yes, elevator music. They argue for a minute about what good music is, but they get interrupted by an alarm.
Showtime.
The two sneak down into Jeff's dad's lab that's in their basement, and Jeff's dad works with the government on satellites. But he's not exactly allowed to talk about what he does because it's top secret.
Top secret? Unpuking believable.
No one has ever said that. Ever. Don't make me not like you, Perch. You're already pushing it with the name that something birds sit on. Or a fish. By the way, you might recognize Jeff from the season 4 episode, The Tale of the Water Demon. He was Dean in that episode. The boys have snuck down into his dad's secret lair to use his government-issued technology to get free concert tickets for a band called
World War IV! Battle of the Century!
That's a terrible name. Anyways, Jeff hacks into his dad's computer, and as he does this, Perch is just casually going through his files, where he finds a folder for something called the Peabody Project. He tries to ask his buddy Jeff what it is, but Jeff absolutely freaks out and tells him to stop touching stuff, which is actually very valid. 1, you're not supposed to be down there anyways, and 2, you're looking at top secret government files. If you want to look at secret government files, go work for Elon Musk. But Jeff does let Perch know that the Peabody Project is an attempt to make deep space communication.
We could dial up Captain Kirk?
Yes, Perch, we're gonna dial up Captain Kirk. Maybe he'll give us a ride on Starship Enterprise to planet Ryza for a nice vacation. Just before the boys can secure their concert tickets,
Dad, down there?
they get caught by Jeff's little brother, who's known to be a massive snitch, but he is willing to bargain.
You know, I'm kind of feeling like a banana split.
But before he goes upstairs, Jeff tells Perch to not touch anything until he gets back. So, of course, Perch engages Project Peabody and tries to talk to aliens. What did you expect him to do? I mean, all the computers and machines around him start activating, beeping, and whirling and processing information. Even the satellite outside turns to face a certain direction. But it looks like he has to enter some coordinates to communicate with a certain planet. So he does what anybody would do. He kind of just like smacks the keyboard a little bit and then presses enter. Now all he has to do is send them a message. But what do you even say to aliens? Perch decides to send them a little tune using a piano that's just so conveniently in a room full of lab equipment and computers. Why is it there? The satellite sends aliens Perch's message and he almost immediately gets a message right back.
Message received. Yeah, right.
That's what I'm saying, man. There's absolutely no way 90s technology sent a message into deep space that quickly. And also, you got a message from aliens back that quickly. Makes no sense. These guys still had dial-up, for Pete's sake. Wait, where is Jeff during all this? Can he not hear what's going on?
Where's the chocolate sauce?
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, actually, yeah. Perch realizes that he has made a massive mistake and tries to shut the computer off, but he must have said something very offensive in the alien language because they send a message back and they don't sound too happy.
What was that?
Of course, Jeff finally hears this loud-ass message and he sprints downstairs in an attempt to fix what Perch has done. But luckily, Jeff is able to power down the computer right before his parents get home. And they do a great job about hiding what they've done. Totally calm, cool, and collected.
Except you did the one thing we asked you never to do.
Oh god, they're busted.
If you give him ice cream before bed, he'll never get to sleep.
Oh, okay. I thought they were gonna die for a second there. By the way, you might recognize Jeff's dad as Raymond in The Tale from the 13th Floor. I hope so, we just talked about it. That night, while everyone is asleep, a strange light shines through Jeff's window and wakes his dog, Montana, up. The poor little guy thinks it's someone wanting to play, so he brings a ball all the way into the woods just for them to trap him underneath a net. Kill them. Burn them. Kill all the aliens. Give me the dog back now. The next day, the two boys run into Jeff's mom, who is in a hurry to get to a banquet for his father. And on her way out, she asks the boys to help find Montana because she isn't sure where he is and she wants to make sure that he isn't hurt or sprayed by a skunk, which has happened before apparently. So that night, the boys head out into the woods to look for their pup, while Jeff's little brother, Bobby, stays back in the yard just in case the dog decides to come back while they're gone. While the two search the woods and discuss what their next song should be about, they find Montana's ball alone in the middle of the woods. This causes Jeff to start to worry, obviously, so they go deeper into the woods, and while they're doing that, his little brother Bobby accidentally hits his wiffle ball into the woods. And when he goes to retrieve it, he starts hearing strange noises all around him. He thinks maybe it's his brother trying to prank him, so he takes a couple more steps into the woods, but he doesn't see the massive glowing net that has appeared behind him. Bobby starts to get a bit freaked out by all the noises, and he accidentally backs into the giant spider web net.
Get away! Jeff! Help! Help! No! Ah!
And just like Bobby, the boys start hearing those same noises coming from the woods all around them. Jeff calls out to the noises only to be mocked by them.
Who's there? Who's there?
That's actually kind of funny. He thinks it's someone trying to pull a prank on them, so he sprints into the woods and almost gets caught in one of those glowing webs. Luckily, he doesn't, and he and Perch find a strange door in the middle of the woods. Perch points out that the noises that they've been hearing kinda sounds like the little tunes that he sent them the night before. The boys investigate the door a little bit, and Jeff presses a glowing button which opens the door. To test out the door, he chunks Montana's ball into the door, and something rather comedically, honestly, throws it right back at him. This obviously freaks the guys out, so they run back to their home to find that Bobby is missing, and the satellite is rotating on its own. Thinking that Jeff's dad is home, they sprint into the lab to find that it's empty. But everything is turned on, and the Peabody project is open on his PC. And it shows that they have 5 new messages from the planet. And each time they got sent a new one, it got closer and closer to Earth. Until its last message, which was sent from Earth. Jeff sends Perch upstairs to go find his little brother while he calls his dad for help. And while he's in the middle of calling his dad, he gets another message from the aliens. And while Jeff is distracted by that, Perch upstairs is about to be their 3rd victim. Jeff tries to run upstairs to warn Perch, but it's too late. Perch is already gone, and there's nothing left but a burnt web to prove it. Jeff is tired of this already, so he runs back to the mysterious door and bravely but hesitantly goes inside of it. While inside, he finds everyone there, trapped in these glass tubes. Jeff tries to break the glass with a stick that he picked up, but they must be bulletproof because it doesn't even budge. He's also using a stick. I don't think sticks are that good at breaking windows. But in his time of capture, Perch has actually wised up a little bit, and he realizes that the aliens actually communicate through tones like music. He tells Jeff that if he plays a D sharp, it should open the tubes and free them. And he knows this because this is the tone that they used to lock him inside the tube, which means that Perch actually has perfect pitch if he could just tell what note it was and also remember it. So he might be a big rock star one day. Jeff sprints back inside, records himself playing a D sharp, and then quickly runs back outside to see that the aliens have called reinforcement and they're about to be invaded. So he's gonna have to work quickly before there is a full-on invasion. And while he's in awe at the other spaceship coming to Earth, he gets trapped in one of the webs. Right, going stupid. Luckily, he was wearing multiple layers or he might have severely messed up. But luckily, he does make it to the door and sets everyone free with the D sharp. But when they make it outside the door, they are trapped and surrounded by the webs. The boys panic for a second. They don't really know what to do, but strangely, the webs dissolve away. And these 2 creepy glowing aliens show themselves to the boys and assure them that they mean them no harm. That they come from the planet looking for their kid. Apparently, Perch sent a child alien a message and scheduled a play date with them. Apparently, the song that the guys made in the alien language translate to, "We are toys, come play with us."
We are not toys, lady. We are people.
The poor alien kid was just trying to play with them because the doofus told them that he was a toy. But the mother alien apologizes to the guys and asks them to not think badly of her son. Well, like, now I feel bad. The alien kid did nothing wrong in this scene. He was just trying to play a little game because Perch is an idiot. Hey, Perch, why don't you, like, play with the little guy for a little bit? Like, just let him, like, toss you around back and forth, maybe. I mean, you are the one who caused this, after all. Only makes sense. After the aliens apologize, they beam themselves back up and head home. And we learn in a voiceover that Jeff and Perch didn't get in trouble that day because Jeff's dad was just so happy that his project actually worked. And since they've had such a crazy experience, they now have great songwriting material and some new friends to show it to. Is that the song? No, it's great. It's great. You guys have potential. Oh my God, that was terrible. That was a terrible song. Luckily, our ears are saved by fading back into the Midnight Society, where Gary closes out the meeting and douses the fire. And in hopes of getting a good night's sleep, Kiki asks everyone if she could sleep over just for one night. But all of them sadly turn her down. Well, everybody but Yeah, I wouldn't go either. And that's the end of the episode. It's an okay episode, honestly. Sadly, it's a step down from the hatching in pretty much every way. I mean, why does this episode look worse than the previous 2 episodes despite it being in season 5? Like, they've had 2 seasons to figure out how to make their show look good, but it somehow has downgraded a lot. Even not looking at the visuals of the episode, it's honestly a little slow and kind of boring. I mean, the first time anything remotely creepy happens is 10 minutes into the episode when poor Montana gets captured. And I understand that sometimes it takes a while for these things to get rolling, and I'm okay with that. I mean, even in the last episode, the creepy stuff technically didn't start until 10 minutes when the kids got out of bed, but that episode did a great job at making things feel off about the school, and so you couldn't really relax with the kids. And this episode kind of just felt like dudes hanging out, dudes doing dude stuff for like 10 minutes. And then finally the scary stuff hits, and then it's just full panic. I do like the idea of the mysterious door though. It adds a bit of mystery that was really needed in this episode. And I think that paired with the creepy glowing webs saved this episode a lot. Even though the webs are kind of easily avoidable, I mean, just don't walk into them and you're good. They do have somewhat of a threatening aura around them, and it does make it feel like the boys are in some sort of danger in this episode. And now the aliens themselves are so disappointing, man. They use these webs the whole episode, so I expected some kind of like spider alien thing, but nope, just some regular old humanoid aliens with big eyes. But they glow. At least they glow. I fully believe they use like the rubber aliens that you see in like all the memes nowadays. That's kind of what they look like to me. And also, before we move on to the next episode, I want to point out that I don't actually hate Perch. While he is a bit annoying throughout the episode, he's actually pretty funny and charismatic and probably the best character in the episode. I thought it was fun to pick on him throughout the episode because he's just easy to pick on. So far for the video, this episode is at the bottom of the list in terms of the alien episodes. But who knows, maybe the next episode might be even worse. Finally, we move on to the reboot seasons of Are You Afraid of the Dark, because we are ending the video off by talking about the 4th episode of the 7th season, The Tale of the Lunar Locusts. This episode was directed by Jim Donovan, who directed most of Season 7 and The Tale of Oblivion in Season 6. It was written by Michael Kogel, who also wrote the episode The Tale of the Gruesome Gormits, and The Tale of the Night Nurse. And before we get into the episode, I want to point out that Paramount Plus, which is what I use to watch Are You Afraid of the Dark, it doesn't have the reboot seasons on there, so I'm going to be using an upscaled version that Simply Collins so kindly gave me. Thanks, bro. Even though it is upscaled, the quality is still a little bad. I'm just warning you before I get a million comments saying, why did the last episode look like you recorded it on a Nokia flip phone? That's why. I'm just letting you guys know beforehand. Anyways, this episode is actually one of the best ones in the reboot series, in my own opinion. And it has some pretty famous people in it, so let's quit yapping and get into it. We start this episode with the new Midnight Society. Literally, the only familiar face is Tucker, who is all grown up now, so he's not even that familiar. The kids are complaining that the couches and stumps are all wet from some storms that happened the night before. Most of the kids decide to just sit on the ground, but Megan refuses to because of all the gross things that live in there.
Worms, slugs, bugs, none of them are pretty.
But it is her turn to tell a story, and she brought a story about creepy creatures that live in the ground. And she also brought a blanket to sit on. Unlike these idiots, she says that there are things that we don't know about that live underground, and no one ever knows exactly what they're stepping on.
That has the power to step back on you.
That's a little cryptic, Megan, but I'm interested, so throw the polytoxic chemicals into the fire and let's begin. We start this episode by panning over a pulsating ground where we meet our main characters, Jake and his girlfriend, Julie. You might recognize Jake from The Tale of the 13th Floor. He was Billy in that episode. You might recognize his girlfriend, Julie, as well. She's played by Amelia Rastia, and she is in a couple of episodes of Goosebumps, like Iris in Calling All Creeps and Allison in Cry of the Cat. Sadly, this is her only Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, though. The two are having a romantic night underneath the kind of full moon, and Julie points out that Jake's massive ring glows in the moonlight, which is honestly kind of cool, but he doesn't really seem that impressed.
Cool.
I mean, at least sound slightly interested, maybe? Julie tries to give Jake a hint by telling him that their mutual friends are all getting together and giving each other their Letterman jackets and stuff, but bro is just like every other guy and kind of ignores her because, whoa, there's a shooting star! A very weird moving shooting star. They don't usually do that, right? Julie thinks it's just a regular shooting star, but Jake is on my side because there is no way a shooting star moves like that. Either way, Julie tells him to make a wish, and she tries to tell him her wish, but my guy has zero game.
I'm sorry, did you say something?
Forget it.
Really, bro? The next day, we learn that Jake kinda doesn't want to date Julie. His friend Pete tries to talk him into dating Julie, but he just says,
being exclusive is so final.
Yeah, Jake, you sound like a great guy. And next we meet Ellen. And it looks like she's got eyes for Jake. She sits at the table beside Jake and introduces herself to him. And she kind of tells him that she's looking for a very specific guy.
I bet you play football.
Ah, the gold digger of high school girls. Gotta love it. Luckily for her, she found exactly who she was looking for because Jake is actually the quarterback of the football team. And since he fits her type, she decides to shoot her shot. She asks him to just show her around the new school, that is, if he's available.
He's not available.
Ooh, awkward. But hey, Ellen knows when to back off someone, so she gets up and leaves, but not without giving Jake one last flirty goodbye.
See you later, Jake.
Dude, she is asking to get in a fight with Julie. That's insane. And on her way out, we see that Ellen isn't too fond of the school lunches, which seems mundane to mention, but I promise it's very important. Later that day in the chemistry lab, Jake is using the lab computer to research UFOs. But that's when he gets a surprise visit from Ellen. She points out his massive ring where he tells her that he found the stone on the beach and just turned it into a ring.
It's beautiful.
Sure. I don't think I would say that. Kind of looks like he just superglued it to his class ring, but if you think it's nice. Ellen asks if she could try on his ring, and after a brief pause to make sure nobody's around, he lets her do it.
Jake!
Julie.
Dang, this girl just appears everywhere. Julie was there to walk Jake to Spanish, but seeing that he's already a bit preoccupied with a new girl, she decides to just go by herself. Jake tries to quickly say bye to Ellen so he can catch up to Julie, but Ellen won't let him leave that easily. She asks him if he can give her a computer lesson at his house. Yeah, computer lesson. Right. And of course, Jake agrees to it because he's the most oblivious human being ever and obviously wants to ruin everything him and Julie have going on. Not very fond of Jake right now. Later that day, Ellen is using this strange metal detector looking thing on the football field. And Julie sees her doing this and seems to be a bit freaked out by it. Julie runs to Jake and tells him exactly what she saw. Julie tells him that she followed her for about an hour and she was just measuring and digging stuff in the football field.
You spied on her for an hour and she's weird? I don't know.
Oh, so he is capable of seeing the irony in things. Oh, that's crazy. Wow. Since Jake doesn't seem to believe her, she just drops the conversation and asks him if they could hang out after school. And at first he says sure, but then he quickly remembers that he's actually giving the girl that his situationship is jealous of a computer lesson at his house later. So he just says, "Cat, too much homework. Sorry, Julie." Poor Julie, man. I feel so bad for her. She's done nothing wrong in this episode. And after their conversation, Julie spots Ellen mysteriously sneaking into the chemistry lab and follows her inside, where she hears noises coming from the closet in the hallway of the lab. And when she opens it, skeleton. Does anybody actually find skeletons scary? I think they're so corny, honestly. They're like not scary at all. I think you like push them over and they'll just collapse. But since she's obviously not in the closet, she has to be in the school's greenhouse. So Julie creeps into the room and sneaks around to look for her, but she doesn't seem to find Ellen anywhere. Maybe she's hiding in this other cabinet. Damn, that really messed bro up. Why are his eyes like that? After the taxidermy jump scare, Julie has had enough of the creepy shit and decides to bail. If only she looked up, she would have found that Ellen is sleeping soundly on top of the shelves. How'd she get up there so fast? And how did Julie's scream not wake her up? Ellen must be a heavy sleeper. Later that day, Ellen and Jake head off to his house, and of course, Julie sees this happen. But she's no longer worried about Jake being stolen from her, but rather his safety. She checked the school's registry and she found that there was no new student by the name of Ellen. So she doesn't even go to the school, which sounds a little fishy to me. Hey, look, fish! We cut to their computer lesson and they're actually, having a computer lesson. Or are they? I see you trying to sneak a kiss in, Ellen.
Break time.
Oh, he actually stopped her. Maybe he does like Julie. Jake brings over a PB&J for Ellen to eat, but sadly she's allergic. So he offers to make her something else, but she now claims that she's not hungry, but she does seem to be very interested in this fish tank. What a strange girl. But since she's not really hungry and it's getting kind of late, she asks Jake to take her home for the day. But before they leave, she steals his newspaper, almost like she's trying to hide something from him. Wait, where are the fish? Did she eat the fish? Why do the aliens keep eating the adorable creatures in the show? Next, we cut to them in the middle of the woods. Oh no. They park the car and Ellen tells Jake that she knows that him and Julie are a thing.
Well, I mean, she's not exactly steady.
Shut up! And she tells Jake that he's really cute and that she'd love to be his girlfriend and wear his ring. What an awfully specific thing to say.
Let me try it on.
Hold on! Jake actually turns Ellen down. He says that he can't do that to Julie and that nothing is going to change his mind. Suddenly, all the car doors lock on their own and you see a strange vine-like thing crawling over the back seat. And it looks like Ellen isn't playing anymore.
Now give me that ring.
Give her the ring, man! What are you doing? There's one easy way to solve this. Easy. Done. Episode over. But Jake's dumbass gets out of the car and tries to run. But obviously he doesn't get very far. Ellen pounces on top of him and tries to reason with him. She tells him that she is an alien and she was the one on that weird star he saw a couple of nights before. But he seemed to chill out a little bit, so she offers to let him up only if he doesn't try to run away. Yeah, because running worked so well the first time. Of course, Ellen just tackles him to the ground again and begs him to stop running because she needs his help. The newspaper that she took earlier has a headline about flesh-eating bacteria that's attacking the area. Ellen tells Jake that it's not actually a bacteria, but it's an alien parasite. It travels from planet to planet and eats everything in its path.
Like locust.
Oh, and that's how the episode got its name. The lunar locust, alien locust. Oh, so genius. Wow. Ellen and her alien partner were the last two survivors from her planet after the parasite attacked it. So to get revenge, she followed them here to try and stop them before they can destroy any other planet. And so she can hopefully find herself a new home in the process. Oh no, Julie is sneaking up on this. No, please not while she's on top of him. Oh, thank God. Julie didn't see it. As Julie spies on the two, Jake just pretty much recaps what Ellen just told him, but then says what any teenage boy would say about the situation.
Cool.
Damn right. Honestly, she should have started off with the alien stuff. Every guy would love to fight with aliens or against aliens and save the planet. If she was just like, hey, I'm an alien from another planet and I need your help to save Earth, he probably would have said,
cool.
And I'd do it too. Jake asks why did she pick him, and she pulls out a necklace with a similar gem on it to his ring. She says that she needs both stones to destroy the locusts, and since he found the stone, she pretty much has to work with him. It was her partner's stone, and it looks like he crash landed in the ocean and probably died, which is very depressing. But luckily for Jake, Ellen wasn't actually after him for his dashing good looks, just his ring.
You're not really my type. You're way too human.
Damn, that's still gotta hurt just a little bit, you know? But just then...
Hey!
Julie sneaks up on Ellen and discovers that she is an alien. Or in her words...
She's a monster!
No! Well, yeah, sort of, but...
Dang, bro, she's standing right there. I know she just called you ugly, but still, she just told you she's an alien. This freaks Julie out, and even when Jake tries to explain everything to her, she still runs away to call the police. Later that night, Ellen takes Jake to the football field where the alien locusts have laid their eggs. Oh, that's why the field was pulsating in the beginning. She claims that they're going to hatch tonight if they don't do something about them quick.
There they are.
Hold it right there, kids!
Oh, come on, don't make me hate you too, Julie. I've been defending you this whole time. While the cops are chasing them, they break into the school using Ellen's freaky glass-cutting fingernail. I don't know how good of an idea that was. You're already evading the cops. Now you're gonna add breaking and entering to those charges? Okay, sure. But they run to the greenhouse in the school with the cop following very closely behind him. He follows them directly into the greenhouse and gives it a, like, 2, maybe 3-second look, and then moves on. Wow. Great job, dude. I feel safer with you around. Ellen hid her alien equipment in the lab because she figured that if someone saw it, they'd just think it was some kind of science experiment, which is honestly incredibly smart. Yeah, it's a really smart thing to do. She hands Jake this alien gun and some sunglasses because the blast from the beams are going to be so bright, it'll probably knock him out. So he takes his things and they run off to defeat the locusts. But they have to set everything up quickly before the moon is fully over the school. And sadly, the field is crawling with cops. So Jake takes matters into his own hands. He sneaks back to his car and tries to distract the cops. But Jake isn't alone.
Jake!
Julie was waiting in his car to try and catch both of them, but when Jake comes back alone, she just wants to know what is going on. And he tells her that it is super important that he helps Ellen, and while he's been helping her, it's made him realize that him and Julie are actually perfect together. Oh, so you had to run around with another girl for 2 days before you realized you actually loved the original girlfriend? Okay, buddy, yeah. But this little talk actually patches everything up between the two, and they actually kiss and make up. I said make up, not make out. Pervert. Next we cut to the field, and Jake's distraction actually worked. Or rather, Julie's distraction.
Is that too loud? Sorry.
She uses his radio and starts blasting music, which distracts the cops and gives Ellen ample time to set up the devices. And when Jake makes it back to the field, all they have to do is wait for the moon to be in the right spot, throw their stones into the device, and they're done. Easy peasy.
Thanks, Jake. I'll never forget this.
Hold it right there, young lady!
Jake!
Oh, now you do your job. Okay, man. Yeah. Ellen throws Jake her stone, and she tells him that he is their last hope. So he Hail Marys the stone perfectly into the alien device at the perfect time. Okay, yeah, that checks out. He then runs to put the other stone in the device and then absolutely stiff arms this one cop. Like, damn, he didn't even see that shit coming. But the other cop actually gets a good grip on Jake and almost takes him down. But Jake has done it once and he can do it again. He chunks his ring at the other alien device and it... God dang it, bro. I'm taking away your scholarship money. Good luck getting into college now. Luckily, my goat Julie shows up at the perfect time and tosses the ring into the device and successfully saves the planet. Julie is still a bit confused at what's going on and how she exactly saved the planet, so Jake shows her the newspaper about the flesh-eating bacteria, and he tells her that they were actually locusts and she killed them all. But Julie already read that article in the newspaper, and it was about how they killed off a bacteria in Brazil using antibiotics. Oh no.
Ellen, we zapped them, right?
Turns out Ellen just used Jake so she could hatch her babies and take over the planet. And that's where the story ends. And we fade back into the Midnight Society where they compliment Megan on her really great story.
Now I know why I didn't want to sit on the ground.
Well, yeah. And I also don't like getting my bottom wet.
Oh, man! Yuck, I'm soaked.
Okay, there is no way all these kids are dumb enough to sit on the ground for that long before they notice that their butt was getting wet. But hey, at least they have a warm fire to dry off. And that's where the episode ends. What a great episode. And an even better place to end off the video. Even though we don't actually get to see what the aliens look like in this episode, I think it's one of the better alien episodes. The story in this episode is really solid and you honestly get played alongside Jake your first watch through. Ellen is so charismatic and you just want to trust her. But wrong, you never trust aliens. Unless it's Alan from Invincible. He's the only good one. I do think it's awesome that the first thing this alien did was come to Earth, turn into a pretty girl, and then immediately start seducing guys. It's awesome. Oh, by the way, Ellen is played by Tara Lipinski, and she was actually the youngest girl ever to win a gold medal in figure skating. She won it at just 14 years old, which is absolutely insane. And she's honestly not a bad actress either. She could have easily pivoted to acting if she wanted to. Also, Jake's friend Pete at the beginning of the episode, he was played by Sean Potter, and he was also in the episode The Tale of the Door Unlocked and The Tale of Jake the Snake. I've mentioned that episode like 4 times in this video. I probably should talk about it then. I hate to say that Jake annoys the shit out of me in this episode. Like, he has this girl who is obviously into him and really wants to be with him, and he's just kind of stringing her along throughout the whole episode until the very end. He claims that he doesn't want commitment, but when a pretty blonde alien shows up, he almost leaves the girl he was with for the alien, even though they just met like 48 hours before. He's lucky Julie is very forgiving and actually believed him about Ellen, because I don't think I would. Although they're probably gonna die anyways based on that ending, so. And also, kind of ironically, him and his brother both had a role in a TV show where they're both named Jake and fighting aliens who disguise themselves as humans. It's kind of strange. This episode isn't very scary throughout, which is actually fine because the ending is so haunting, it kind of makes up for everything. And there was also a very strange vibe around Ellen the whole episode to keep you interested enough to finish the episode. But the writers decided to throw in these red herring jump scares in the episode, which did not need to be in there. They were both just super goofy and they threw me out of the story immediately. I mean, if they just had Julie search around the lab for a second with creepy music playing and she found the weird alien equipment, that would have been better than this. And it also would have kicked off her small obsession with following Ellen, and it would make more sense than her just doing it out of jealousy. Other than those few complaints, I really enjoyed this episode a lot. Everyone in this episode is at least somewhat likable. Even Jake. And I love how intense the end gets before the really great plot twist. I personally knew that there was something wrong with Ellen from the start, but I think it's because I've watched these shows so often, you kind of catch these little trends in the stories. I do love that she is the mother alien though. I figured she was like the Taylors in The Hatching, where she was just there to help her queen, but nope, she is the queen. And that's awesome. So that was all the alien-based episodes in Are You Afraid of the Dark? I honestly think they do aliens really well in the show. They definitely know how to teach kids to not trust strangers, that's for sure. And I do also love how each episode has a different looking alien. I mean, we have the completely unique designs of the blank-faced ones in the 13th floor, a reptilian alien in the hatching, and alien aliens in the unexpected visitor, and then some shape-shifting humanoid aliens in the lunar locusts. It's awesome. I love how creative they are. And I do believe each episode is good in its own way, of course, but the unexpected visitor is definitely the worst of the 4. It's the most forgettable, frankly, and the most boring of them all. Like, I bet you don't remember the main character's name. I just talked about it. What's his name? Exactly, you don't know. And right above that, in third place, I'd have to put The Tale of the 13th Floor. It's really fun and interesting, and I do love the sibling bond that we see in the episode, and it's got a pretty haunting ending that pretty much makes the whole episode worth watching. But that's what made it so hard for me to choose second place, but I'm gonna give it to The Tale of the Lunar Locust. It's a great episode, super interesting story and characters, not to mention it's like star-studded. And the episode itself isn't really that spooky, but the twist ending where Jake helped an evil alien take over the world is just awesome, and I could not overlook that. So of course that leaves The Tale of the Hatching for first place. I knew when I first watched the episode that it was going to blow the rest of them out of the water. No pun intended. It's got everything you want to see in a horror kids show. Creepy school, odd teachers, gross food, eerie vibes, crazy practical effects, and overall a really fun and interesting story. It's just too good. Well, yeah, let me know what you guys think about the episodes in the comments below. Also, give me your rankings for the episodes. I have a Patreon. The $5 members get bonus content plus videos a day early, maybe some pictures of my cats, also a Discord server, and your name right here on screen, as well as YouTube members. You guys get lumped in with that as well. And I want to thank a few specific people, Mr. Uchiha, Erica, Jose, C-Bomb, Justin C, and Leslie Nope. Thank you guys for supporting me directly. Like the video if you liked the video. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace.